Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, the show where a team of DMs teams up to tackle a 100% rules-as-written exploration of the spookiest 5e D&D campaign. I am Dragon Akarta, your host and DM, and thank you for everyone for continuing to tune in. We appreciate you guys all so much, and we're really excited to have you all back here for our 4th episode.
Woo!
One more left until we hit the month mark, so that'll be fun.
Woo!
All right.
If we all survive.
Oh, assuming you all survive, which, is not... It's negotiable. I think there's been some discussion of TPKs, so, I've always got, more... I hope you guys have a backlog of PCs, is what I'm saying.
So you're saying if we pay you like $10, we can make sure we skate through this bit, all right?
I'll consider it. Throw in a lollipop or, a cookie or something, and I'll think about it seriously.
11 and a homemade chocolate chip. It's my final offer.
Accepted. Earthrendeer is safe, but all the rest of you are up for grabs, I'm afraid. Anyways, on that note, I think we are ready to get started. With that, let's get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten.
A striking elven female with an almost ritualized poise, Kiva Sirili always endeavors to be a level-headed mediator and a soothing presence in the lives of all she meets. Determined to look ever forward, she relies on controlling day-to-day chaos. Anyone who watches her for long enough, however, can clearly see there's something undeniably feral and unpredictable bubbling under the surface.
In the company of these fine strangers, he is just Metreon. But across the Sword Coast, he's known as Metreon the Magnificent. He is a tiefling whose body and dress carry the signatures of a nomadic performer, as evidenced by the rougher edges of his costume and his sinewy frame covered in faded tattoos. Though he may not look like a typical magician, rest assured, he cleans up quite handsomely.
The well-dressed, well-spoken half-elf who introduced herself as Lillisen has stayed away from the rest of the traveling group during the journey so far. Oh, she's friendly enough if someone strikes up a conversation with her. Charming, even. But left to her own devices, she invariably keeps to herself, and even looks nervous when anyone comes within 10 feet of her.
Amity, a terrifying deviloid with a tail that will knock your drink over if she gets too excited. Even worse, some pig follows her around and eats almost as much as she does. Yet, she's generous and easy to befriend, especially if you get her talking about her book of fables. Just, if she compares you to a fox, it's hard to tell if that's a compliment.
Earthrendeer is a high elf man who looks perpetually like he's never quite gotten enough sleep. After his departure from elven society, he found himself out in the wilderness, working as a ranger in the deep, deep woods. However, this did little to quell his passion for history, and he's found himself on the road to Neverwinter, hoping to track down a book that might hold the answer to a question he's held for a long, long time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Last we left off on Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, as we dive back into this adventure. So, delving deeper into the mysteries of the Durst manor, our group of unlikely travelers came together to fight back against the house's hostility and hauntings. After recovering from an altercation with a terrifying specter, sleeping in the house's isolated den, and surviving an exceptionally paranormal experience, the group set out together to find a path to the basement. There, they believed, they would find the monster that Rose and Thorn had spoken of, the true root of the house's hauntings, and so win their escape. And so, under Lilisen's cautious guidance and with Kiva leading the way, the group carefully ventured through the house to search for clues. It was in the library. Perusing the shelves of books upon its walls, where they located a secret door that in turn revealed a terrible secret. That the house had once housed an evil group, a cult, perhaps, that had sacrificed innocent victims on a secret altar far below. The party resolved to uncover the secrets of where the monster and these hidden mysteries lay, and making their way further up as they explored for an entrance and a way down, the party found their way to the attic. There, Kiva and Metreon awoke two young spirits, the true ghosts of Rose and Thorn themselves. Seemingly unaware of their conversations with the party on the street below, the spirits of the two children showed the characters the location of a secret door, giving access to a staircase that led down to the basement. However, upon the slightest indication that they would not be able to accompany the characters as they departed, Rose burst into a rage as Thorn flew into despair, flying into Metreon's chest and seemingly possessing him, as Rose's spirit took residence in Lilisen's body. With that, as tensions boiled and the group did their best to resolve the tensions and soothe some private fears and public disputes, the party came together once more, now bearing two invisible, quiet passengers in the forms of Rose and Thorn, and entered the hidden staircase, descending now to the dark basement below. And so, as you proceed forward, Kiva leading the way downstairs, the broken cobwebs around you sway like a gossamer wedding veil with each step you take. The group of you now in a single file line, the staircase far too narrow to allow comfortable travel on either side. You feel almost beckoned forward by the swaying cobwebs, and so you descend the spiral staircase into darkness, the ancient stairs creaking and groaning as you push past endless rows of cobwebs. The gaping maw of the stairwell itself seems to draw you deeper, swallowing you up as you descend further down its gullet. You descend 1 floor, 2 floors, a third, the darkness around you still covering you like a cloak as your own eyes pierce through the gray, shifting shadows as it continues to plunge below the house. The walls of the stone shaft narrow around you, forcing you to hunch your shoulders and pull in your elbows to continue downward. In the darkness, you can only hear the shuffle of your feet, the choking groan of the stairs, and the pounding of your blood in your ears. Finally, after what feels like hours, or perhaps only minutes, the descent levels out, and the spiral staircase ends at a darkened landing of packed earth. A narrow tunnel supported by aged timber braces stretches out ahead of you, its stone walls seeming to bleed with deposits of streaked red clay. 8 feet ahead, the tunnel splits, branching to the left and right. As your eyes and ears adjust to the cold subterranean corridor, you notice that the tunnel isn't as silent as the staircase above. An eerie, low-pitched sound echoes through the space, and you soon recognize it as a deep, incessant chanting.
Kiva.
What?
Kiva, you hear that?
Yes, I do. Look, I can continue what we were doing and go a step ahead. If that's alright with everyone, just check it out. And I promise I won't go anywhere without the rest of you, okay?
I think that's for the best. Although, I think we should keep doing what we did upstairs. Lillison, that was a very good tactic you employed. I think we should keep doing that if we run across any doors down here. But, yeah. Be careful, you.
Kiva,
Sorry.
go on ahead. We'll be right behind you. Also, did we bring down the light?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Amity has a lamp, and speaking of which, she will jab a finger at Metreon and say, you, just asking, you threw something at me a few nights ago when we were around a fire. Mind reminding me what that was?
As when you poked him, he shuddered and skittered away from you just slightly, but he'll turn back to you. Oh, it was just a pelt, just a hair pelt. That's all.
All right, so you're still Metreon.
What?
Well, I was worried
it's
that
best not.
you were just that ghost now.
I mean, I'm me. Well, I don't. And
It's all right. Just let's continue.
All right, so Lillison, if I find a door, I'll call it out for you.
Yes, we'll be just a few steps behind you.
All right, so Kiva is going to take just a few steps forward. It looks like there's pathways to the left and to the right. So, which way do we want to go first?
When in doubt, go left. It'll always get you out of a maze. Well, not really, but sometimes if the maze designers were really bad.
DM, the walls of the tunnels, what are they made of?
The walls of the tunnels themselves are largely made out of a combination. The foundations are largely hard stone, and in the upper portions around the halfway mark, it changes into a kind of dark, earthy brown packed soil that in turn is kind of streaked with these large deposits of red clay, almost, but they're cut in a way that's such that they're not round deposits, but more like long slashes that almost kind of ooze down the walls in places, intermingling with the soil.
So Kiva's just going to poke the tip of her thumb with her scimitar and just mark on the stone in a visible area a big X so that she knows which ways they've been, if that makes sense.
All right. You kind of smear a recognizable X of blood across the middle portion of the stone.
All right, and then Kiva's going to go down the left point of the tunnel and call back to the others and say, again, they branch off. It goes a little bit ahead of me and then towards the right. So do we want to keep going left?
I say straight, personally. Or, yeah, take the left. Do you... Go for it.
So she's coming around this corner. It looks like there's a landing or some steps to another room.
Well, that's promising. Can we get that mage hand?
DM, is there a door there, or is it just the steps as I'm seeing on the map?
There is just the corridor descends as the ceiling kind of stays at the same level. Overall, the space descending into what appears to be a small room, and you can see the table and chairs, but you can't make out too much detail without getting much closer.
All right,
As it is with your dark vision, you can only see it in kind of like shaded grays and fainted off tints, black and white colors. It's difficult to make out any fine observations without a light source.
Okay. So Kiva's going to cautiously take a step down and just sort of peer into the room, seeing what she can see. Obviously, it's going to be sort of hard. And then once she feels that she's safe, she's going to take a step down into the room and maybe just look and see if there's anyone there or if there's recent signs of life, stuff like that.
Sure, make a perception check for me.
First roll, let's see here. That is a natural 20.
Woo! All right, and what's the total?
Nice.
Good first roll.
So it's 21.
21. Looking around, you can see that the room appears to be filled on this end by a wooden table and 4 chairs that stand just before you. To the west, you can see lying 4 shadowed alcoves that are chiseled from the stone into the packed clay of the walls. You can also see what appears to be another corridor that leads off from the side of this chamber, perhaps to an adjoining room. The room itself is quiet and empty. There's no sign of life.
All right, it's safe to come in here. There's no one else.
Metrion's gonna rush up.
Aetherdir will follow at a distance.
Amity will follow at Aetherdir's side.
Well, good to know that he's still him. Well, I mean, either that or the ghost's a really good actor, but, you know, it seems like him.
Right, so at least he's not going to, like, try and betray us.
Probably. Well, yeah. Still, stick together. And he gives her a meaningful look and presses forward. Oh, this is kind of a dump. I mean, not to be rude about their underground cult space, but ugh. Can you imagine spending any amount of time here? Because I don't want to.
TM, is there anything on the table that we can see?
The table is bare, save for just a thick layer of dust.
4 chairs. That, and the kids had never been down here, right, Kiva?
As far as I know, they were kept in their room.
So that implies more than just mom and dad.
Well, it makes sense if there's a cult to be followers.
I was kind of hoping it was a cult of 2, but I suppose we wouldn't be that lucky.
Your optimism is infectious, my friend. Kiva is going to take a few steps down and just continue poking around the room to see if there's anything else of interest or of note. It looks like
All right.
this... Oh, sorry.
All good. Are you taking a look inside the alcoves?
Yes, that's what she's going to be doing.
Gotcha. Looking inside, you can see inside the first one that it just appears to contain a moldy straw pallet, presumably for sleeping purposes. And kind of glancing inside the others, they seem to have similar contents.
Well, this is definitely some sort of disgusting living quarters, but it doesn't look like anyone's been here in quite some time.
Alright. Guess there's not going to be much for us here then, unless any of us really want rotten straw.
How many sleeping spaces are there?
It looks like
There appear to
are...
be 4 in total.
There seems to be a small hallway over here. Maybe I can go down there, or do we want to go back to the rest of the tunnel?
Nah, I say we play out any branch before we go back. Less confusing that way.
The chanting is driving me insane. Can I make out where it's coming from or what they're saying?
Make a perception check.
All right, that is going to be a 4.
Looking around, there's no indication of where it's coming from. You're unsure.
Can I make a perception check in that way? Can I? Because I'm obviously freaking out and don't want him to head towards that chanting. So can I check to see if I know what direction it's coming from?
Glancing around, there's no indication of the source or the direction of it, I'm afraid.
Is it just kind of like echoing everywhere, or is it like that? So it's like everywhere. It doesn't feel like it's coming from somewhere.
It feels almost omnipresent. Like every direction you turn, it seems to echo off of the walls, and you're unsure of whether it seems to be emanating from a specific place or whether it's just being distorted by the several different curves and turns of the dark and closed corridors.
Amity, just don't go too far with the light, all right?
Yeah, I'll second that.
I wasn't planning to.
All right. Earthendeer is going to step forward and join Kiva on the next curve. And I think... All right. What's next?
Kiva is going to go down the steps and again, sort of very cautiously keeping an eye on everything.
All right. As you descend the stairs, you hear around the right-hand corner, before you can pierce past that darkness ahead, you hear a sudden splash, as if something suddenly disturbed a pool of water, and then it quickly subsides as you step down into the room.
I don't think we're alone here.
Can you see it? Whatever it is, or...
Kiva's going to draw her scimitar and her shield and take a step into the room.
You step into a dark earthen chamber, the ceiling rising a foot higher than the cramped tunnel you just came from. The ceiling is supported by thick wooden posts and crossbeams that have rotted with age and bear deep holes indicative of hungry insects. In this room, you can see a lonely well standing at the center of the chamber, surrounded on three sides by several smaller, alcove-like chambers that have been carved into the walls. You can see old footprints crisscrossing the floor, leading into the alcoves around the well and up a staircase on the other side of the room, as well as back upstairs the way you came. You can see within the well itself, from here, an old hempen rope attached to a rusted pulley descends past the mouth of the well itself, swaying gently in the stagnant air as if just recently abandoned.
Kiva's going to walk into the room and shout, "Hello?
Don't get their attention!
Just trust me."
Look, I know the ghosts were, friendly enough, but I don't think anything we meet down here is gonna be nice.
Earthendeer, are you speaking from around the bend, or are you kind of talking down to her from atop the staircase?
I think he's come up to the top of the stairs at this point.
Gotcha.
You know you're being
While
just
this
as
is
loud as
happening-
me, right?
All right, a quick note. While this is happening, what are Lillison, Metreon, and Amity doing?
Lillison is waiting for everybody else to move enough so that she feels comfortable coming out of the mouth of this corridor. Every so often she is darting glances behind her shoulder.
Metreon is... Oh, sorry, go on.
Amity sort of backed up into the corner when Ethandir and Kiva started spatting. She's just kind of huddling there, covering Truffle's ears.
Metreon at this point has pulled out one of the chairs and is like keeping it in front of him, but he's also making sure to stay within the boundaries of the lantern light or the lamp light. He is kind of conflicted with staying there, but also is like almost inching towards the corridor that Kiva and Earthendeer went down because he knows that Kiva is the beefiest out of all of us, and therefore probably the one who's going to protect him the most.
All right. As that occurs, as Erthrandir and Kiva venture forward toward the other room, what is Kiva doing?
Kiva is examining the well, and then she's going to be just listening very carefully to see if she can hear anyone else moving besides her and Erthrandir.
All right. Make a perception check for me.
That is a 5, so not a natural 20.
All right. As you peer down into the depths of the well, Lillison. Behind you is darkness, a shroud of shadows that fills the corridor, almost darker than your own night-adapted vision would enable you. You feel almost an oppressive gloom settling in around you, as though you're being watched by many eyes at once. And as you glance over your shoulder, you hear the sound of grinding stone, followed by a slam, and then quickly retreating footsteps in the opposite direction.
Lillison is going to swiftly and quietly go back towards the staircase that they took down here and take a look.
All right.
Where's she going?
Lillison, what? Oh my. Erthrandir just sighs and then, looking around, kind of jerks his head to Amity. Make sure she's not gonna get herself killed, will you? I need to do the same for this one. And with that, he's going to go into the room with Kiva.
Amity steps up and sort of says down the corridor, don't go wandering off alone and getting yourself killed. Maybe not even loud enough for Lillison to hear her.
I'll be right back. TM, has anything visibly changed around the base of the staircase?
Make a perception check for me.
That would be a 22.
A 22. Looking around, the staircase itself does not appear to have changed, the dust itself not looking disturbed, but as you look... Actually, you have disadvantage because this is dim light, so roll again and take the lower.
Okay, well that would be a 19.
All right. Glancing down the hall, you do notice that from the branching corridor forward in the opposite direction as the other corridor that you've just been down, and to the left, there appears to be a set of footprints that emerge and then veer to the left, vanishing into a room where you can just faintly make out what appears to be a large wooden bench.
Okay, Lillison is going to silently note this and then go to rejoin the others.
All right. Kiva, as you look down into the well, peering at its contents and inspecting what lies below, you can see that it appears to be a simple well shaft with a 3-foot-high stone lip that plunges down below the floor of this cellar level. You can see perhaps 10 feet down. Sorry, not 10 feet down. All the way at the bottom, you can just faintly see the outline of what appears to be a wooden bucket hanging from the rope and pulley that has been in turn bolted to the crossbeams above the well. And as you glance downward, you can just faintly see that the interior of the shaft seems covered with an ash-black species of fungi that clings to the walls of the stone.
Well, there's nothing of note down the well.
Is there water?
There does appear to be a bit of dark, clouded water at the bottom, a cistern of sorts, perhaps.
If you're interested in drinking mold, yeah, there's lots of water.
I'm more interested in drinking mold than dying, but let's leave that for slightly more desperate measures, why don't we?
Kiva's going to take a poke around at some the alcove that's like directly in front of her, if that's okay.
All right. checking your way inside, you could see that there appears to be a small side room, slightly larger than the alcoves of the previous chamber. Within here, you can see what seems to be a wood-framed bed, upon which lies a moldy straw mattress. Just to the right of it, you can see what seems to be a closed wooden chest.
Is it locked?
You kind of bend down to inspect it, and it does appear to be secured with a rusty iron padlock that closes the top half to the bottom. And as you look over it, you can see that the surface actually appears to be carved with intricate depictions of demonic faces and sigils that send a shiver down your spine.
Maybe it's just the superstitious person in me, but I don't really feel like opening these horrifying-looking chests.
Well, the last chest we opened turned out to have a dead body in it, so I think your superstitions are well goddamn founded. Leave it be.
It looks like there's a couple other pathways here.
Alright, let's, Alright, I don't think we're gonna get anywhere if we keep, like, going this bit by bit. I think if we're gonna go down anything, you go through first, but if we're gonna look at stuff, I think we all need to do it together. Just kind of, minimize our time.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go, I guess, up this pathway over here, and maybe you can call for the others to join us in this room and follow me?
Gotcha. Hey, we're moving on. This room's clear. Can y'all get in here and help me search, see what else is happening? Also, there's water if anyone's really desperately thirsty. And also doesn't mind fungi.
Metreon, seeing Amity already going into the room, scurries right behind her and makes sure to keep to her like he's a shadow.
All right, glad you. All right, I'm gonna take a look at these doors. Can y'all take the ones up north? And that Earthendeer is going to peek inside this alcove at the corner.
All right. Peering into this alcove, you find a similar sight as to what Kiva found: the old wooden bed and the moldy straw mattress atop it, and a small wooden chest. It appears to just be a plain wooden chest, unmarked and unadorned, held tight by a simple silver padlock, or a rusted iron padlock.
Okay, this one doesn't have the screaming demon faces. That's a bit more cheering. I don't suppose either of y'all can pick locks, can you? Because, like, I really cannot.
I can.
Oh, splendid. All right, if you wouldn't mind, I'm, a bit curious what they're keeping in here. Although, if it does look like another body, probably shut that again.
Yes, that does sound prudent.
Earthendeer takes a long step back as she approaches.
DM, which of these alcoves was the one with the not screaming faces in it?
It's the lower left one.
This one?
That
Correct.
Okay. I am going to summon my arcane mage hand and attempt to pick the lock with it.
Okay, do you own thieves' tools?
I do not.
Okay, you will need thieves' tools to attempt to do so.
Okay. Lillison is going to stick her head back out and say, Metreon, do you still have those little picks you were using earlier?
Yeah.
May I borrow them for a moment?
You promise you won't break them, yeah?
I will promise that I will treat them as if they were my own.
She'll be careful.
Metreon starts to rifle through his, not his bag, but he has pockets underneath his jacket, and he'll take out a little leather pouch filled with different lockpicks, and he'll very sheepishly extend it towards Lillison without actually going towards her.
Okay. The mage hand will float forward and very gently lift them and bring them back to her.
He'll give it to the mage hand, but seeing, I assume it's still in its kind of like skeletal spectral form, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, he's not into that. So he'll like very quickly, almost like toss it into its hand and then like back away.
Okay. Lilison will watch this with a bit of amusement and then retreat back into the little space, still not touching the tools herself, and sort of awkwardly from a distance directing her mage hand, attempt to pick the lock.
All right. Are you proficient with these tools?
I am.
All right. Then you may make an attempt. This is a dexterity check plus your proficiency modifier. While she does that, Kiva, what are you doing?
Kiva is going up this lovely little staircase over here to see what is in the room beyond.
All right. The staircase, as you climb it, leads to a... 1 second, please. If you would... Thank you.
Sorry.
Move yourself back there. You're good. The staircase that you climb leads to a quiet landing. And to the front, you can see the stairs continuing upward and vanishing around a bend. To your right, the landing continues straight into a lonely corridor. A tunnel hallway that seems relatively clean and bereft of debris, especially compared to the rest of the complex that you've explored thus far. At the far end, you can just faintly see another earthen staircase descending into the darkness. As you kind of poke your head into it, you can hear that the incessant chanting that has filled the air of this underground complex grows stronger toward the far end of this corridor.
Well, okay, so knowing that, she's probably... she's gonna go look for the source of the chanting. So she's going to very cautiously and quietly try to make her way down the south hallway.
All right. While this is happening, Lillison, what was your result?
That would technically be a 14.
14. All right. You kind of work the pick in the lock for a moment. You feel yourself almost getting it, and then it slips out at the last moment, and you feel your effort to work the tumblers of the padlock fail. If you'd like, you can take a little bit longer to take your time and get it right, but for now, that quick work did not succeed.
Okay. Yeah, Lillison will actually step forward and take the pick out of the mage hand and attempt it herself.
All right. As that happens, Kiva, where are you heading to? If you'd like to start moving yourself along.
She's gonna go down this way.
All right. As you step forward, you can look around and you can see ahead of you the staircase ahead seems to be the origin of the chant lying beyond the dark stairs before you. But as you make your way forward, almost entranced by this chanting that surrounds you, you're not entirely paying attention when the floor suddenly bows beneath you, then splinters and cracks. Before you can react, you're sent plummeting downward. Below, you can see, your eyes wide now, a nest of sharpened wooden spikes rushing up hungrily to greet you. You fall down into the pit, and as you do, you suffer 1 point of bludgeoning damage as you fall, and 6 points of piercing damage as the spikes impale you, slashing across different parts of your body, cutting deep into the flesh. The rest of you hear the sudden sound of splintering, a grunt of surprise from Kiva, and a sickening sound that Earthendeer's ears pick up from close to the staircase.
Yeah, she's fully screaming at this point.
Kiva! And he's running.
Oh, what happened?
Kiva,
what happened?
I don't know.
Curses, I don't know, just follow me, Metreon, okay? And listen.
Can Earthendeer see the pit once he's gotten to that place?
Very clearly, yes.
Shit. All right. Hey, is there anything in there with you, or are you all right for the moment?
A lot of spikes in my body, but other than that, I'm fine, I suppose.
Okay, not the best. All right, give me a second. Anybody have actual rope by chance? Yeah, no, that would be too easy. All right, and he's going to unspool his fishing line, carefully cutting off the hook with a small knife, and then tying a loop in it, he is going to carefully lower it down to her. Here, see if you can tie that around one of the spikes. We won't be able to lift you out, I don't think, but we can probably give you some to help you climb out.
Can Kiva sort of pull herself off of the spikes where they're like piercing her body to do that?
It's extremely painful, and it takes a little bit of slow going to kind of pull yourself out, and there's kind of a sickening sound as the wooden stake kind of slips out of the gash along your shoulder where it's almost half embedded yourself, and you wince as you feel the splinters that it's left behind. But you're able to grasp around the line that Erthrundir has dropped down the length of this 10-foot pit, and slowly, painstakingly, painfully drag yourself out from the edge until you're lying on the tunnel once more.
Kiva is breathing incredibly hard. She's got tears in her eyes, obviously blood pouring everywhere. She's trying very hard to keep it together right now.
Shit. All right, here, quick, get out of there. Let's not. It might more Florinite give way, and he's going to do his best to kind of help her to her feet, or if she's not really feeling that, then to see if he can gently drag her a bit closer to safety.
Yeah, Amity takes one look at Kiva and like winces, hiding her eyes as she like staggers around the corner.
Yeah, Metreon looks like he's gonna barf as soon as he sees the gashes in her, like an arm in her torso. It's just his cheeks start to get sunken in, and he starts to retch, and he'll look away from Kiva.
Please don't barf in the well.
I might have to, and he's gonna rush up and barf in the well.
The chanting is coming from that way.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. Are you, can you stand?
Kiva will stand slowly and just sort of like try to crack her neck and sort of you know, like I don't know what to do to stop that bleeding. But you know, she's just gonna try to like shake it off and regain as much composure as possible.
Erthrundir is going to look at her, look back at the others, and then kind of sigh deeply. And then he's going to place a hand on her shoulder and sort of, or actually first he pulls his hand back. Hey, can I, it alright if I like trace something on your shoulder? I'm gonna try something.
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna see if I can heal you. I haven't cast this spell in 55 years, but I think it still works. I think I remember the incantation. I just need to put a little... Well, actually it works just as well. Right, I've got the other one. Here, and he traces a quick elven glyph in the air, it glowing a gentle green, and casts Healing Word. And that is going to be... Okay, 4 points of healing. As you're... Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Kiva looks genuinely surprised and touched because up until this point, she assumed that you really didn't like her. So she's
Hold that thought. Because as you watch, the rune that Erthrundir traces out is a gentle, flickering green, almost friendly and warm like a woodland forest, and it dissolves into a black mist. And Kiva, you feel a bolt of pain lance through your body as you hear something in your arm and shoulder crack. You almost double over as the flesh begins to burn. The rest of you watching as the flesh rapidly knits itself back together, searing red hot as the veins around it blacken and twist and throb, and then slowly receding, cooling off as the bulk of the wound is healed. But you can hear Kiva breathing hard, panting, as the aftershocks of the impact still echo through her body.
What the fuck are you doing to it, man?
I wasn't. I am 99% sure that was a cure spell and not inflict wounds. I don't know. I'm so sorry. God,
Kiva is like backed up that staircase behind her and like pressed against the wall, looking absolutely fucking terrified.
God, I'm so sorry. I didn't. It doesn't do that. That's not how magic works. I'm so sorry. I fucked it up. I probably did the incantation wrong. I'm so sorry.
Just don't ever do it again, please.
Okay. Does that include if you're about to die?
Honestly, if I'm about to die, it's probably a good thing, so yes.
Alright. I promise.
Kiva, what... Now that she's sort of back up against the wall, can she see anything new about this area, or is it just sort of still, like, hallway-ish?
The hallway does bend around a corner. You can see there does appear to be a room around the bend, but from what you can see, there appears to be several piles of small objects littering the floor, though in the darkness you can't quite make out what they are.
Kiva's going to try to put on a brave face and not look at Earthendeer like he's very frightening, and she'll cautiously take a step into that next room.
Gotcha. All right. Stepping forward into the next room, as you do, what are the others doing as they linger back nearby the well? Earthendeer, you watch as Kiva rounds the corner and vanishes out of sight.
Earthendeer is going to step back to rejoin the others. Hi. Y'all all doing alright?
Metrion's glaring at you. Snot has now covered his lips and chin. His eyes are just bleary, and tears have been streaking down his face. The fuck are you, man?
What do you mean, what am I? I'm Earthendeer. I'm a ranger by profession. What do you mean?
That wasn't no good magic there. I've seen good magic, and that wasn't it.
He looks like he's about to say something sharp, and then seeing his kind of snot and tear-lined face, he looks down. No, it wasn't. I don't know what happened. I think I fucked up the incantation or something. But I'm not a dark wizard or something, if that's what you're asking. I'm not gonna start pulling up the dead or making people's flesh rot off the bones. Not really my thing.
You know, I had a theory that we was all here because we did stuff that was bad, and I feel like I see something about you now. I feel like I get it.
You do not know a single goddamn thing about me. You know almost less than nothing. And while I understand that you are incapacitated at the moment because you have some little child jackass inside your body, that does not excuse that. Don't presume you know me, Metreon. But at any rate, that doesn't matter. None of this matters. What matters is getting out of here, and after that, if you want to tell me to bugger the fuck off, I will do so cheerfully with a song on my lips and a smile on my face. But for the moment, let's keep each other alive, why don't we?
We should probably go check on Kiva then.
Yeah. Lillison, you gonna be alright on your own?
Has Lilson managed to open the chest yet?
Assuming you didn't interrupt your attempts during Kiva's horrendous screaming, then yes, the lock pops open.
Okay. Taking a step back, sort of shooting a curious glance outside, but before sort of rejoining that drama, Lilison is going to pop open the lid of the chest with her mage hand.
All right. It appears to have a number of some worthless personal effects inside. The top layer of it appears to be just a number of moth-eaten clothes, but there are a few bulges in the clothes that indicate that something might lie below, if you would like to take a closer look.
Yes, very carefully peeling back the clothes.
Sure, kind of carefully peeling back the clothes. You see underneath one of them kind of a faded, moth-eaten tunic. You can see very strangely, in kind of the grays of your dark vision, a well-crafted hairbrush with very fine bristles. And in the reflections, just faintly illuminated by the light outside, you see something glint off of the surface of the hairbrush.
Okay. Gonna carefully pick up the hairbrush with the mage hand and turn it a bit, see what is up with that.
All right, it appears to be just an ivory hairbrush with silver bristles.
Okay.
It seems to be perhaps very well crafted and quite a fine make.
Okay. Lillison is going to set it back down again and leave the lid of the chest open. And coming around the corner, she's going to try to catch Metrion's eye. And she'll say, I think I found something that you might find interesting.
Is it a way out? Because that's all I'm fucking interested in right now.
No, it's not. Would you like your picks back?
Please.
Okay. She's going to send the mage hand with the picks back to Metreon, and then she is actually going to cast message to Erthrindir and just say, a moment, please.
He starts and nearly jumps as the message kind of enters him. And then he kind of realizes again and steps back to join her. What is it?
She's going to wait a few moments to see if Amity and Metreon go elsewhere.
Metreon's going where
No, we're not
Randy is.
moving.
Yeah. We're safe here.
Okay. Then she's going to lower her voice and just sort of whisper to Erthrindir. I am sorry. I know that you thought that it might be your friend responding to you.
No, it's not your fault. I don't think she's going to get back to me for one reason or another, but I do appreciate that's very kind.
What happened just now? I didn't see.
Kiva fell in a pit of spikes, and I've been on our walk down. I've been kind of sorting through my old spells, trying to see if anything would be useful, and I thought I'd come across some healing magic. And so I tried to heal the puncture wounds, and well, it did, but it's like my magic turned rancid. And it's normally supposed to be, calming. It's supposed to be a little sedating so you don't go into shock. And this time it just looked like she was screaming in pain.
Did it actually do what you meant it to, though?
From the second I got before she went off and flattened herself against the wall, I think so. A lot of the blood was gone.
The magic is different in this place. This is not how my magic works either, and so far, everything still functions the way I need it to. It just looks terrifying, and I have been praying that doesn't change.
That's bizarre. Why would any of this have happened, frankly? It's not too much use to ask, but yeah, no, I guess... Okay, that's good to know.
I thought it was just me. I really did.
I haven't been casting too many spells, so I didn't really know. I just thought that you really liked red acid.
Oh, goodness, no.
What, you not a fan of primary colors?
I am not a fan of acid, to be honest.
I mean, most people aren't, but you sure were using it with aplomb.
Well, you do what you can with what you have.
I
But
suppose that's true.
look, even if your spells go wrong, even if, it harms somebody when you don't mean it, not saying that is what happened here, but that does not make you a bad person. It just means that you need to be careful. All right?
He nods. Well, I could get into philosophy with you here, but I think you've got a good point. And I really appreciate the sentiment. That's really kind.
I
Thank you.
would love nothing more than the chance to just talk philosophy for a while here, but
we should go make sure our friends don't die.
yes, after we get out.
After we get out. I get the sense you kind of figured out how to get me talking. I get the sense that once I figure out what makes you tick, that you're going to be very interesting to listen to.
That's certainly a thought.
Fair enough. All right. And he steps back to the others.
All right, and
All
as
right,
you
y'all.
do, Kiva, as you step forward around the bend, you watch as the others fall out of your line of sight, the darkness falling in behind you once again, almost like a veil coming down, dividing you from the rest of the group. You feel another spark of pain on your shoulder and winds glancing down, and as you watch, you can see that the wound seems to have largely closed. It's a bit ugly now, a bit of a puckered thing that might form into a scar at some point, or it might heal over. You're not sure. Looking over the rest of some of the wounds you seem to have obtained, many of them seem to have healed over partially or even fully in some thankful cases. And you feel as the heat that had suffused them slowly begins to cool, the pain that had lanced through them dulling to a low, steady ache that soon vanishes as well. And for a moment, you're left alone in the darkness with nothing more than the cool, stagnant air pressing against your skin and only the sound of your breath in your ears as you glance into the next room.
So for a moment, not that anyone can see this, but Kiva's actually crying, and she feels very disappointed that the wounds have actually healed. And then she's going to wipe away the tears and stand up and take a step forward into the next room with a lot more caution than she ever has, I think, in her life. And just sort of look around and see what there might be to look at.
All right. As you put your foot down where you're stepping, you feel something hard beneath your boot, and for a moment you pause, not wanting to risk disturbing something or making too much noise. And as you lift your foot away, you see below it what appears to be a long white bone. And as you glance up, you can see that the room before you seems to contain a plain wooden table flanked by long benches, and all around it you can see moldy white, gray, yellow humanoid bones lying strewn on the dirt floor. As soon as you step inside, taking note of your surroundings, you can smell a thick stench of rot and gore that fills the chamber, so coppery with blood that you can taste it on your tongue. The stench itself seems to be stronger toward the right-hand side, emanating from a corridor to your right. Glancing across the room, you can see a tunnel that seems to connect back to a familiar-looking corridor. And in a dark alcove across the way, on the other side of the table, you can see a few dozen moldy bones that have been piled into a grotesque and misshapen pyramid, perhaps 1.5 feet in height.
Well, that's going to deeply disturb her. Okay, so she's just gonna sort of poke around the bones and see if there might be something of use, whether or not like a weapon or something like that. And then she's going to take a peek down this hallway here to the north.
All right, the bones themselves, you take a minute or so to kind of inspect them briefly, the quiet, stagnant air settling around you as you kind of shift them over and pick them up. A few of the bones rattling against each other as you sift through the small piles scattered across the floor. Many of them, not all, but a large majority, don't seem to be weapons as such, but seem to be covered in teeth marks, gnawing at the ends and centers. Some of them you can see actually have been split open, the marrow within having been sucked out.
Oh my god. Okay. She's like clenching her fist sort of rhythmically, doing her little breathing exercises. And then she's going to slowly go down that hallway.
All right. As you make your way down the hallway to your left, it seems familiar. You see it branching at one point into what appear to be two smaller chambers on your left and right. And as you look forward, you notice what seems to be a familiar intersection and a section of the tunnel that curves around a bend. You feel like you recognize the architecture of this place.
If she were to call, like yell something out, would the others hear it, or would she not think that they would?
From this distance, if it were reasonably loud, at this point you're perhaps, maybe 2.5 rooms away. So, a reasonably raised voice verging on, a soft shout could probably attract someone's attention.
All right, so she's going to just shout pretty reasonably loud and say, I found where the tunnel loops, so if you're all good with this area, maybe we can move on.
All right, the rest of you hear Kiva's voice echoing as Erthrindir steps away from Lillison, rejoining the group.
Yes, give us one moment. We'll be right there.
All right. Y'all ready to go?
Let's go.
Good stuff. And he's going to follow the same route that she took.
Metreon is actually, when Amity starts to walk away, he's going to put his hand on her shoulder. Oi.
Oh.
Remember I said don't take shit from them?
Yeah?
Just be careful, especially around that one. I don't trust him none.
I think we're going to have to work together to get through this.
We can work together, just be careful. Knife ears are tricky.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. And he'll follow Amity.
Did Lillison hear this?
Metron was whispering, so I mean, I don't know, but
you probably heard me say that we're gonna have to work together to get through this. Like you probably heard the things I said.
Okay.
All right. As you follow behind, Erthrindir is the first to emerge into the grisly scene with the wooden table, the bones strewn across the floor, the thick, choking stench, and you can see the bones arranged in the pyramid in the alcove on the opposite side. Glancing to the left, you can see Kiva standing still, staring straight ahead in the darkened hallway to the left-hand side.
In a very small voice, he says, I suppose it's too late to go back and puke in the well. Yeah, probably. What on earth were they doing down here?
Eating each other.
What?
Look at the bones. There's teeth marks all over them.
That could be an animal, some sort of scavenger who would they'd have a feast down here.
Even as you say that, Truffle snorts and Amity sets him down so that he can go chew on one of the bones.
Show some respect. Those are, all right, we don't have time for this, but that's messed up. That's real messed up.
Kiva's just ignoring this, and she's just going to go down the hallway.
Truffle happily picks up what appears to be a small-sized femur and just happily chews on it, a little bit of drool dribbling from one corner of his snout as he watches Kiva moving ahead and snorts toward Amity as he plops a few happy feet toward her.
Metreon, upon entering this chamber and seeing all the bones littered everywhere, instinctively wants to go back, but then seeing Lillison right behind him, darts back around to Amity and is just kind of like feels very claustrophobic and starts to grip his chest, and his throat starts to retch again, and his eyes are getting teary. Kiva, where are we going? Just tell us, please.
We're going back out to the hallway, and we're going to continue a loop down.
Fuck.
It's awfully brave. It's awfully brave of you to go wandering off on your own, Kiva. I mean, exploring for the rest of us.
Is that meant to be a compliment?
I'm worried about you. At the same time, it's admirable.
Look, I don't know you. I don't know any of you. You tried to leave us earlier. At this point, I'm just trying to find a way out so that I never have to see any of you again. She's going to continue down the hallway.
That's fair.
At this point, that's not unreasonable. All right. Earthendeer is going to take a peek down this bottom hallway.
All right, as soon as you peek down it, you almost have to reel back. Your lungs and nostrils choked with the overwhelming scent of rot and decay and gore. As you look down the hall, you can actually see that the stone walls bear cracked red stains, and a trail of old bones emanating from the dining table appears to lead deeper down the tunnel. Peering around the corner, you can see that the trail vanishes around a bend. It appears to end at the center of a quiet intersection, just barely out of sight.
Everyone, remember what I said about scavengers? I think I was incorrect. Scavengers don't eat people while they're alive. There's blood everywhere down this one. Like a trail.
Like someone's dragged.
Yeah, that's my best guess.
No need to jump to any hasty conclusions. Might have been somebody who was wounded.
I suppose. But if there was, there's no body.
Well, which way shall we go?
As you ask this, Kiva, how far down are you continuing?
She's right where she is on the map, sort of in that center intersection that she's seeing.
All right, just waiting there for the others.
Yeah, she's going to poke to this hallway on the left and see, like, what these doors are.
Gotcha. In that case, as you peer down to see what lies there, you can see that the side corridor that you step into appears to branch again to the left and right. You can see large standing stone slabs sealing the entrance to the tunnels on either side, blocking the way forward. You can see that the slab to the left is etched with the name Rosavalda Durst. The slab to the right is etched with the name Thornbolt Durst, each one excluding the silence of a forgotten grave.
Does she recognize perhaps what these are?
Looking over them, I mean, they seem reminiscent of crypts.
Okay, so it's not like a bedroom or something down here.
No.
She gets the sense that this is not a happy place to be.
Correct.
Okay. Seeing that, she's going to bow her head and mumble something in Sylvan. And then she's going to leave this area and continue, maybe poke her head to the right as well, because she sees there's another little offshoot there.
All right. Glancing into this offshoot, you can see another similar branching section with similar large standing stone slabs sealing the entrances to the tunnels ahead. Are you stepping inside to see like the actual interior like you did for the other ones?
So she's going to take some of probably the still wet blood that's on her armor and mark the wall here too, just to make sure that she's keeping her bearings, and then she will take a sort of cautious step in that direction.
Gotcha. All right. Moving forward into this branching corridor and looking at the darkness that lies beyond. Again, it's hard to make out the fine details. It takes a moment for even your elven vision to adjust to the grays and shaded tinted blacks of the darkness here. You can see a similar arrangement, 2 stone slabs blocking the way forward. The one to the left is etched with the name Gustav Durst. The one to the right is etched with the name Elizabeth Durst. The tunnel here is unnaturally quiet, and as you glance downward, you can see a thin mist clinging to the floor.
Upon reading those names and taking a second to process this, she's actually going to spit on the floor, and then head back out into the hallway and say, "They're tombs. There's nothing there."
Oh, okay, good to know.
Wait. Tombs?
For the children and the parents.
Take a look on the floor. Are there footsteps?
Kiva will go back first to the children's side and see if there's footsteps there.
Make a perception check for me with disadvantage, given that you are in the darkness.
That is a 10.
10, glancing around on the children's side, there do not appear to be any footprints that you can see.
All right, and can she do the same on the parent side?
Yes, you may.
That is a 9.
9. It takes you a moment. You spend a good 10, 15 seconds inspecting the floor closely, but eventually you do notice what appeared to be a somewhat fresher set of footprints, mixing and crossing over the ancient markings left by much older prints in the dirt here. These fresher prints appear to continue outward from the right-hand crypt, making their way around the bend and joining the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of ancient footprints crisscrossing the corridor you've just stepped out of. The fresh pair continues downward, and then vanishes into the dust beneath the piles of bones.
Yes, there are fresh prints on Gustav's side.
Come back for a moment, please.
Kiva hesitates for a moment and then comes back to the group, but she's keeping her distance from everyone.
Earlier, a few minutes ago, I heard a noise like stone moving, and I was afraid that it was the stairway that we came down from. And I also saw footprints. I don't think we're alone down here.
Oh, fuck me, man.
Aerthrandir goes white as a sheet.
Metrion starts to weep again.
I understand that all of this strain and stress and all of our own prejudices and secrets have made this an incredibly tense time, but we have more important enemies than each other. And much as I understand not wanting to see any of each other after this, we still need to do this together.
That's why I'm still leading, love. She's gonna go back down the hallway.
Hey, wait. I think I have a hunch. And Amity, can you pass me the lantern?
Amity gives him the lantern.
He is going to look down the hallway that he just looked down for any set of prints.
Give me a perception check, please.
19.
19. You're doing this from your current position?
Yes.
Gotcha. So glancing down the hallway, you peer down the way, and you can actually very faintly see a set of prints making their way down across the dust, mixing with the trail of bones and such that wind their way down the corridor. But as you inspect the footprints themselves, they don't appear right. They're oddly shaped in places, and you can see points around where the toes would be, long holes have been poked into the ground, almost as if by talons or claws that dug into the soil there. And as you watch, you can actually see places along the ground underneath where the footprints lie, where it looks like there are scratchings, as though something had been dragged along the way, the red smears across the walls, and the bones just littering the space until they come to a final stop in the center of the intersection where the trail ends.
Can he see if he knows what sort of thing would leave footprints like that?
Make an Arcana check for me.
6.
You have not the slightest idea.
Well, I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is I don't see, the Dursts. The bad news is something came through here with toenails the size of large knives. So, I think we're doubly not alone down here. Any of you know anything with a footprint that could, punch holes in soil?
Metreon kind of glances over at Amity.
Yeah, Amity sort of huddles closer to Metreon, but shrugs.
All right, well, that's understandable.
Would we like to find out?
No.
Not particularly. But, I think we need to. We're running out of paths.
Why do you think it's here? Do you think it's here because it was some abomination, like, summoned by the previous occupants, or that it just wandered in and killed them all?
I don't know. Either of those are good hypotheses. There's all sorts of creatures that take up this sort of ecosystem, dead and decaying stuff. But it could be they were miserable piles of garbage and tried to summon something to get some power. And in that case, I think they got what they fucking deserved. But, more to the point, no way of knowing.
We came here. Well, we didn't exactly come here for this, but we have decided to stop a monster. Does it really matter where the monster came from?
It helps us know how to fight it.
It does matter where it came from, because if it turns out that it's possible to turn off the fog out there without killing it, then, well, I just want to get out of here in the easiest way, like you.
We'll know more about it when we see more evidence of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I think we need to... Kiva, you feeling brave?
Where do I need to go?
Down here. Do not go fast. I think there's definitely something that went this way. And yell if anything comes your direction, or if you hear something.
You'll be the
Why are we
first to
having?
know.
Why are we having Kiva playing the hero here?
Have you seen our arms?
If you want to be my guest, I'm a...
No, I would really much prefer I go, Amity. No offense, love, but look, if someone's going to die down here, I'd prefer it to be me over one of you.
Why?
That's really none of your business. And she's going to begin to cautiously go down the hallway.
All right, you slowly make your way each step forward, causing a few small bones to crackle and crunch beneath your weight. Looking over them, a number of them most of them seem to be large, but you see a few smaller sets of bones mixed in with the pack. Whether they belonged to a smaller creature or, well, you don't want to think about the alternative. As you make your way down toward the intersection where the trail stops, you pause for a moment, and glancing downward to your right, you can see a set of stairs leading down to a dark T-junction. And as you pause here for a moment, you can hear that the incessant chanting that you've heard since first entering the dungeon is noticeably louder down that set of stairs. And then you pause for a moment, and then a whiff of this terrible stench of death comes up all around you. You feel yourself choking for a moment, tears coming to your eyes as the terrible aroma collapses around you. For a moment, you look around, confused as to what could be causing it, and then you hear the sound of scratching dirt. You glance down, eyes wide, and you feel something yank around your ankle. A gray, diseased hand pulling up from the dirt. On the opposite side, you see another one clawing its way up. A grayish-green hand that gives way to an arm, that gives way to a set of shoulders and a leering, terrible, white-eyed face. Around you see others, a second, a third, boring its way from the dirt at the end of the corridor. Around the bend to your left, you can hear another thing suddenly emerging, the sound of scrabbling claws and sifting dirt echoing through the tunnel. Each of them bares their teeth and fangs, yellowish saliva dripping from their aged, ancient maws. And with a hissing snarl, they leap for you. And that's where we will take our break.
Come on!
Seriously!
I'm gonna die!
We're
Party
all gonna
time.
die.
All right, guys, we got 15 minutes to strategize.
Oh yeah, map it out.
Bye, chat. Have fun.
Okay, so there's a 12% chance in the round 4 we can.
Yeah, but that's only if we win initiative. If we don't win initiative, then it goes down to a 6.5.
Oh dang it!
At which
you're right.
point, do you think we should try Plan Zeta T?
Let me scroll
I'm
up.
kind of vaguely curious to know how many plans you all have.
0.
None whatsoever. None.
My
Well, you have
plan would
15
ruin chat.
Okay, on that note, you're not allowed to say it. Though I'm very curious to hear it in private message. So with that all, thank you for hanging with us for the first half of today's session. We will pick this back up after a 15-minute break, during which I am sure the players will have the time of their lives thinking how they're going to survive. Until then, do enjoy a few other messages from our D&D community, including a new episode of our Fireside Chat with our very own Serena, player of Kiva, about the history of Ravenloft as a setting and the origins of Curse of Strahd. We'll see you back here soon.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features, where I, your host Joe Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we are talking to Serena, a Southern Gothic Curse of Strahd DM and a player in Twice Bitten, about Ravenloft and its history. What is Ravenloft, and how does Curse of Strahd fit into it?
Today, Ravenloft refers to the Dungeons & Dragons campaign setting set in the demiplane of the same name. It's sort of an alternate dimension like the Twilight Zone, filled with plentiful horrors and equally horrible creatures. Careful listeners and DMs familiar with the setting will note that it shares a name with Strahd's castle home. Ravenloft has expanded over the years to include dozens of domains, domain lords, and over 100 published adventures, novels, board, and video games. Curse of Strahd is 5e's reimagining of the original adventure I-6 Ravenloft, written by Tracy and Laura Hickman.
How and when did Ravenloft get started? How did it compare to D&D lore and gameplay at the time?
I-6 Ravenloft began as a home game for the Hickmans in the early 80s, and the adventure was published in 1983, which was a banner year for several reasons, most notably the release of Sleepaway Camp and my absolute favorite Elton John song. But to paraphrase my dear friend, Reddit user RB Nair, Ravenloft is known as a town and dungeon adventure. These adventures included what's on the tin, a town and a dungeon, with some potential forest areas or smaller exploratory sections thrown in for flavor. The point is for the party to rest up and get supplies, start to explore the dungeon, go back to the town and lick their wounds, and repeat the process. With every trip, the party gets closer and closer to discovering the secrets of the dungeon. By the time I-6 Ravenloft was published, the villains of AD&D were becoming much more complex, and a lot more nuance was added to a system that was originally created with war games in mind. The more polished adventure books that we're used to today, with completed settings, tons of pre-built NPCs, pages upon pages of color maps, were much less common at the time. Many of these classic D&D modules were exactly that, modular. They were meant to slide into a DM's existing homebrew game without any issue. AD&D as a game, or Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which is what it was known as at the time, was also far more brutal than 5th edition is today. There were no milestone level advancements. How much experience you had and earned was based on the class that you were playing. Monsters in general were also far more lethal. Healing took a very long time, and magic was rare. That lethality is especially apparent in I-6 Ravenloft, because it featured some of the most lethal enemies of all, undead. Undead in early Dungeons & Dragons had the ability to drain your levels directly. Vampires could drain 2. So that means it would take a 7th level restoration spell to cure 1 drain level, and this spell was something that only priests could perform. Casting that spell took 2 years of the caster's life. So getting hit by Strahd 1 time could cost the healer in your party 4 years of their life. My friend the Red Astronaut said it best when he put it this way: in undead-heavy adventures like I-6, it was very possible to have your heroes leave the story much, much worse off than when they started.
Give us Ravenloft 101. What are the most important details we should know about the setting?
Oh man, this is like asking me which one of my children is my favorite, and I don't even have children. I would say that the most important thing to understand is the sheer scale of the setting, and how to use that to your advantage rather than let it overwhelm you. There is a treasure trove of content for you to sift through, and so much of it can give even more delicious context to your campaign. That being said, here are my bullet points. Entering into Ravenloft the demiplane is easy, and traveling between the various domains is too. As in Curse of Strahd, however, no matter what domain your adventurers find themselves in, it should be nearly impossible to leave. The various domain lords of Ravenloft are trapped there for a reason. These villains are not pushovers, and they do not like people challenging their rule. Don't be afraid of roughing up a party to prove a point or teach a lesson. The setting itself is a primarily gothic horror setting, so be prepared to lean into the horror, of course, but also the capital R romanticism. The stories of the domain lords and the people they've hurt during their ascension and subsequent rule are often tragic, disturbing, and very violent. be prepared to explain this to your players and take steps to avoid your boundaries, as well as the boundaries at your table, being crossed. The source material can be really tough to get through, so self-care is important. And finally, much of the early Ravenloft setting is a product of its time. American society has a tendency to point out the horror in the other, which stems from a really nasty, ingrained, and sometimes unconscious prejudice. Some of it, as written, just isn't fun to work with in 2020, even though there is a slow process of correction and making amends beginning. That being said, don't hesitate to change things you don't like or pick and choose what to bring into your own campaign. So much of Ravenloft is an adaptation of other famous works of literature. It's well within your right as a DM to take what you like and leave the rest behind.
How has Barovia specifically evolved over the years? Without too many spoilers, which elements of today's Curse of Strahd adventure are inspired directly from past editions?
First things first, like the rest of the setting, Barovia itself got much bigger. The adventure was initially contained to a relatively small section of the Svalich Woods, the village of Barovia, the camp at Sarpool, and Castle Ravenloft. Places like Vallaki, Krezk, and a certain temple were not part of I6 Ravenloft. An adventuring party in Curse of Strahd today might have several goals depending on the plot hook the DM leads them to Barovia with, either destroy Strahd, escape Barovia, rescue a certain NPC, hunt some werewolves, and so on. The 1983 adventure gives the PCs one clear goal: kill Strahd. There are a lot of elements that have remained consistent, but going into them too much would be pretty spoilery. I can point you to my I6 Ravenloft essay if you want to know more details.
What are the biggest takeaways and lessons that modern Curse of Strahd DMs can take away from older editions?
Context, context, context. Strahd's backstory in I6 Ravenloft has remained largely unchanged in the 5e adaptation, but guides like 2e's Domains of Dread really help a DM to understand what Barovia is, how the demiplane functions, and what exactly is keeping Strahd in this cursed state. It might not seem important at first, but it really helped me to understand the history of the module in order for me to help run it more effectively. And it also helps to make more informed changes and adapt the module in new exciting ways, like, for instance, a Southern Gothic reskin.
If you think your hometown has problems, you haven't spent nearly enough time in the village of Barovia.
Over the years, their taste for human flesh had only grown.
The vampire spawn,
The undead cult, the werewolf den.
I just think we can do a little better here.
Grab our shovels and we're gonna add some depth to help you run your best
Curse of Strahd.
Strahd possible. You're welcome.
He flies into a fit of rage that is unparalleled.
There's child abuse galore through this thing. He's been nailed to the wall with very long iron spikes, and I imagine it's been a very uncomfortable time for him.
You see, in tracking a monster, one always needs proper bait.
All right, everyone, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten. Before we get back to the game, just a few minor announcements. First, a quick shout out to our continuing virtual tabletop sponsor for this campaign, Foundry VTT. They've done an excellent job of supporting our efforts, and it really makes for a beautiful display for our campaign. As you can see, both maps, dynamic lighting, sound assets, graphical assets, it looks great. So a big shout out to them for being so supportive of the stream. Secondly, some of you might have noticed that the pit trap we used in the dungeon is not actually native to the Curse of Strahd module. That was a custom asset that we requested from a artist friend of ours. That is the Mad Cartographer, a D&D artist and map designer who helped to put together that asset for us, and he did it literally in 5 minutes flat. He is exceptionally talented, and a big shout out to him for his support of the stream and his support of the Curse of Strahd community. So if you're interested in seeing more of his work, you can find him at patreon.com/themadcartographer. That's the Mad Cartographer. And I believe he's planning on working on a number of other Curse of Strahd related battle maps through his Patreon. So I heavily encourage you all to check him out if you are a DM for this module. Or not, if you're a DM otherwise. He does a lot of great battle map content. So next, Twy, I believe you had something.
I do. So, as of this week, we have just hit Twitch affiliate. Thank everyone who's been helped us get to this point. It has been a wild ride, and I am really excited for it. So, what this means, as you might have seen throughout the stream, is that you now can subscribe for $4.99 a month, or with any Twitch Prime subs you've got lying around. I know you do. Everybody does. And that subscription gives you a couple extra perks, which includes some custom emotes, as you may be seeing later on. And so, right now, the biggest perk is all of those. You get access to Perkins Face, to Doru, and of course, at the highest tier of subscription, Truffle.
Well, actually, do we have access to those so far? I believe they're under a review process.
We may or may not. If we don't, then we will have those later. At any rate, we're looking to add more of those as we get more subscribers and get more options, but we hope you enjoy the ones you've got. And at the moment, we're looking to devote 100% of anything we get in subscription revenue to the Twice Bitten stream and the Curse of Strahd community. That means support for the creators who have contributed visual, video, and musical access to our stream, additional funding for stream artwork and assets, and new funds for Curse of Strahd community assets like battle maps and art. If we get to the point where we have done all of that, then, well, we'll let you know, and we will keep you on top of things. All right, I believe that covers it. Serena?
Thank you. And I just want to point out that I think you meant to say stream, but instead you said scream, which I think feels very
It's on the mind.
It's definitely.
Welcome to our scream, ladies and gentlemen.
Ah!
All right, cool. Yeah, and I believe just as well, some people have discovered you can also subscribe with Twitch Prime if you have that. So we welcome any support that you guys are willing to lend to the stream, as well as, just you guys spreading the word of the stream, being so supportive and just being such a fantastic audience. So thank you all. We love you all, and you are fantastic. So with that said, Serena, do you mind giving us a quick online digital roundup?
Hell yeah, I do. Hi y'all. So as always, I'm gonna plug our YouTube channel first, youtube.com/c/our Curse of Strahd. I'm doing the Brian Foster / but y'all can't see it. You can subscribe there. We just hit over 500 subscribers, which is crazy and awesome. So thank you guys so much.
Wait, seriously? We actually passed 500?
We are at 521 right now, which is amazing. None of us ever assumed that was going to be happening, so it's all very thrilling. And sort of related to that, we have a YouTube VOD playlist, tinyurl.com, again, /twicebitten. That has all of our past episodes in case you've missed us. If you're watching us live on Twitch now, don't forget to hit that follow button, like and subscribe. And if you need to subscribe, sorry, someone's buzzing to get into my apartment building. That's super annoying. and to follow to get updates and notifications whenever our episodes go live in the future. You can follow us on Twitter at TwiceBittenCOS. If you guys like what you're seeing and you want to get in on the conversation, you can use the hashtag TwiceBittenCOS to give us all of your juicy episode thoughts. And finally, you can submit any artwork either of the Twice Bitten crew, of Curse of Strahd related things, memes, and any ads that you might want to run to our email at twicebittencos@gmail.com.
We need
All
more
right.
memes.
Oh, always.
Always memes.
Yeah, and also just artwork as well, in case anyone knows any artists who does Curse of Strahd work, or if you have like artwork of your party that you've commissioned after playing Curse of Strahd, like that Piddlewick sculpture, you know, little spoilers with the name, but like that sculpture that we got today was absolutely beautiful. So like more of that, please. Also the Hot Boy Strahd.
Hottest Strahd.
Perfect. All right. So thank you, Serena. Kaya, I believe you had some final wrap-up announcements.
Yes, I have a very exciting announcement. This week, our podcast went live. You can find us at anchor.fm/twice-bitten. I believe we are also at this point syndicated to Spotify, Google Podcasts. Google Play. I don't think we're on Apple Podcasts quite yet. That takes a little longer to synchronize. But pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, you can listen to us. And it is, I kind of think of it as a sort of director's cut, because for the podcast, I am actually editing down the audio to remove any stray noises, really long pauses, things like that, so you get a really good listening experience.
And spending like half your life and half your soul on it too. Don't forget to mention that.
Yeah, just a little. So, recognize my hard work by giving it a listen. We are actually sort of cutting up each episode into a part 1 and a part 2, otherwise it would be way too long, as well as adding the fireside chats there, so you can listen to those individually if you want. The fireside chats are uploaded on Wednesdays, and the main episodes are uploaded on Thursdays with a 12-day offset. So basically, today's episode would basically air on the 10th of September. That is because, as Dragna said, it takes a lot of time to do that audio editing, and I have a husband who likes to spend time with me. So yes, look forward to that. Also, speaking of lovely noises to put in your ears, big shout out to all of the video game companies and independent songwriters that have allowed us to use their music in this stream. You are hearing the dulcet strains of the Amnesia Dark Descent OST, thanks to Miko Tarmia and Frictional Games, the Darkest Dungeon OST by Stuart Chatwood for Red Hook Studios, the Stardew Valley OST by Concerned Ape, The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 OSTs by Marcin Przybiłowicz and CD Projekt Red, Scott Buckley, Frederick Chopin, Cryo Chamber, Kevin MacLeod, Midnight Syndicate, and Sword Coast Soundscapes. Thank you so much. Your hard work makes our stream sound much better. And also, thank you again to Runesail for our lovely character portraits, and our very own Jack for our Twitch overlays. The stream looks great, and that's because of you.
Agreed.
Thanks.
And actually, yeah, and Jack, you are awesome. Full credit to Jack for putting together the new thank you for follows and subscriptions pop-ups that you've been seeing on the stream. He puts in a lot of work alongside Kaya, the whole group of players. Like, this is the benefits you get when you play with DMs, is that they're all used to working overtime. So thank you all for working incredibly hard to make this as successful as it can be, and you've really done an incredible job of making the stream look great. So thank you to Kaya, Jack, and everyone else who's worked so hard. And as a final thing, music-wise, I have had a few requests from people who are interested to see my playlists. I might, if I have the time, to put them together and organize them into something publishable so that people can see what songs I've been using and in which assortments. So keep an eye out on that. I might publish them somewhere in the near future. Otherwise, I think that's all we've got. Anything else that anyone needs to go over?
I think that
Is it time to start screaming again, by the way?
Yep.
I got stopped, so...
Oh, yeah, sorry. Last thing, I forgot. Thank you as well to Harrison, who is a friend of the stream and has been doing wonderful work helping to set up Foundry behind the scenes. #1 consultant, works for absolutely no pay except kind words of gratitude, we hope. And he has been wonderfully fantastic and has put in a lot of work to help make Foundry a really enjoyable and accessible experience. Not that it isn't already, but really helping to optimize it as best we can. So a big thank you to Harrison as well. So thank you for the reminder. I think that's all I've got. So without much further ado, let's get back to Twice Bitten. And where were we? I think you were screaming.
Yeah, I was screaming.
Pretty loudly.
All right. With that, if everyone wouldn't mind rolling initiative, please.
Do I have to?
Yes.
I'd rather not.
If we do mind, can we skip this?
No, but I taunt at you and laugh at you.
Okay.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, come on!
All right. I also need Lillison to roll. It looks like we've got. If everyone could just say what they rolled.
I rolled a 24.
I rolled a 7.
3.
8.
And Airthrindir, please. If you would add yourself to the tracker.
17.
All right. Very good. With that, as we come together and as we return to the scene of this very unfun situation, Kiva, you suddenly watch as all around you these terrifying ghoulish figures begin clawing their way out of the dirt, long gnarled claws streaking toward you. You can see old bloodstains now around their gray black mouths as if dripping down, their razor sharp teeth and fangs bared forth. The stench is horrible, and as they clamber toward you, reaching as they burst through the earth, one clasping around your ankle, your heart pounds in your chest, and you were the first to act. What would you like to do?
So she has been hanging on a thread, my poor girl. So immediately this is just gonna fucking cause her to snap. She's going to rage right away. And she is going to swing with her scimitar at this ghoul to the right of her. And she's going to recklessly attack because she is freaking the fuck out right now.
All right, this is the one ahead of her to the left. And you may roll for it.
It's right to the... It's my right, but it might be to her left.
All right, go for it.
Sorry, I'm a slow roller. So that is a 23.
All right.
And yeah, it's a 23 to hit.
All right, that hits. And we'll use the damage rolled with the hitting one.
Okay, great. So that is a 5 points of damage.
All right, very good. Turning around, you slash blindly, raging with your scimitar as the black blood streaks down from your scars upon your face, attacking recklessly and slicing at its side. You do, in fact, deal 5 points of damage to it.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay, and that's
yeah.
her...
Are you adding rage damage?
I think so. Maybe not. Rage is +2, so no, then that's 7.
All right, a full 7 points of damage. It pauses for a moment as it's scrambling out of the ground, not fully unearthed yet, snarling and gnashing its teeth toward you as it impotently tries to slice back toward you. You have a half moment. What else would you like to do?
She's going to take a step towards this way, to the left, trying to get towards the staircase and away from the ghouls.
All right, both of the ghouls around you will slash out with their claws, taking attacks of opportunity.
Okay, that's fine.
That's with advantage. So the first one is an 8.
That misses, thank God.
The second one is a 19.
That just hits.
All right, that deals 7 points of slashing damage.
Is that reduced to half because I'm raging, or is that the full thing?
It is, yes. I believe that's rounded down, so you take 3 points of damage.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much.
Also, sorry, quick question. Does rage damage apply only to strength attacks, or are you attacking with dexterity or strength?
I was attacking with strength, but I don't know. Oh, God.
Gotcha. We'll keep it there for now, and we'll take your turn. All right. Next up. the ghouls have their turn. As they finish scrabbling free, you watch as the two of them, now fully unearthed, one of them, less wounded than the other, manages to move slightly faster, scrambling in front of its partner as the other one gnashes its teeth, howling behind it. The other's pushing, snarling, and struggling to get toward you. The one directly behind you in the hallway, launching itself toward you and almost a bear hug from behind. Its claws are attempting to rake across your shoulders and chest. That's going to be attacking with advantage because of your reckless. That is an 18 to hit.
That is my armor class.
All right, that will hit, dealing 7 points of slashing damage, reduced to 3.
Okay.
All right, that is the end of the ghouls' turns. And with that, Erthrindir, you hear the sound of snarling, guttural growls and tearing flesh coming from the corridor as you hear Kiva shout in pain. What are you doing?
He looks at the hallway and looks like he's about to be sick, but then shakes it off, motions for the others to come help, and then peels around the corner. Seeing the amount of ghouls, he is going to... Yeah, he'll step up here. And he has an idea. He is going to close his eyes, concentrate, and slowly and methodically begin to sing. It's not a traditional song. It's almost like he's describing something, speaking it into existence. And with that, he's going to cast Silent Image and create the illusion of two portcullises sprouting from the ceiling, one in the hallway where Kiva is and one in the hallway where he is, and cutting off the ghouls from the rest of them, and cutting them off, the two of them off from the ghouls.
All right, you watch as the two portcullises begin to waft around you, almost like mist forming on the floor, that then solidifies, and you watch as the two portcullises slam down from the ceiling up above, locking into place on the floor. You don't hear anything, but you notice that they silently move into place, obstructing the path. Kiva, you see one slam into place behind you, though oddly it produces no noise.
Hey, it's not real. You don't test it. You can like jab through the bars if you wanna, but don't do anything that makes them doubt it, all right?
All right.
Be careful. And
the words leave your lips, and as you watch, turning back, one of the ghouls slowly turns toward you, and you watch a terrible, stupid, but understanding smile creep across its face. And you get a sense that it understood every word you just said.
Oh, fuck this. They're smart! And he is going to pass a die of Bardic Inspiration to Kiva. Alright. And that's his turn.
All right, very good. With that, as Erthrindir ducks back a little, and you hear the commotion coming forth from the corridor, the stampeding of feet, what would you like to do?
You talking to Lillison?
Yeah, can you confirm that you're speaking to me?
Yes, Lillison, you are up. What would you like to do?
All right, Lillison is going to squeeze her way over here to see if she can see what's going on. And as she rounds the corner and takes in the sight, something seems to spark in her eyes, and she says, "Get behind me." And then she is going to thrust her hand forward, and another giant gout of acid is going to splash forth around the corner.
All right. It does have half cover here, so it will get +2 on its... this is a dexterity saving throw, I believe,
Yep.
right? All right, very good. That is a 9 + 2, which is an 11, which I believe fails, correct?
It fails. That's 5 points of acid damage.
All right. It takes the full 5. as the reddish acid splatters down its front and coats it, beginning to run down. It snarls and turns back toward you, its nostrils, which are sunken into its face, almost as though the nose has been severed, leaving only a snake-like set of holes where its nose should be, flare toward you, a guttural snarl building in its throat. You get the sense that you didn't do much more than annoy it.
Okay. Lillison is also going to look back at the two tieflings and say, it's about to get a bit crowded here. Let me know if you want to come to the front lines or find some other way around.
If there's some way that I can see Kiva to cast a spell on her, that'd be good, but I don't know.
I can get the hell out of the way. I fucked up majorly. But...
All right, and on that note, it is Metrion's turn.
Metrion would actually, noticing that the light is still with Aerthrandir and therefore is leaving the cavern, is going to go ahead and actually move, but then hearing the guttural sounds, he's going to use his action to hide under the table.
All right, make a stealth check for me.
That's a 16.
All right, and if you'd like to move yourself under the table as you dive beneath it.
Done.
All right. With that, Amity, Metrion slides below the bench below you, cowering into the darkness below the table as the bones around him rustle and creak. Down in the corridor below you hear Lillison and Aerthrandir speaking loudly as Kiva flees the ghouls. What would you like to do?
Amity's going to start by kicking Metrion under the table. Not like a dealing damage action kind of thing. Just being like, come on! We don't just let everyone die! Then she's going to pounce forward. So I can move into a creature's space temporarily, right?
You can, but you can only move through it. You cannot cast a spell or make an attack from that vantage point. Right now the corridor is too clogged for you to do anything of note.
Well, I can see Kiva, and so I'm going to cast the spell Heroism, rapidly flipping through my book for the tale of the woodcutter, and say, Kiva, you got this. I know you said it would be okay if you died, but I want it to be no one. Okay? And so, Kiva, at the start of each of your turns, you are going to gain 3 temporary hit points. Hopefully that's enough. But unable to do anything from my present vantage point, I'm going to back up and say, and Aerthrandir, I believe that even with that magic thing earlier, I think you still have our best interests at heart. Okay? We're going to get through this together. And I'm going to give you a die of Bardic Inspiration.
Oh.
Hey, it's official.
Okay. All right.
There she is.
And that's my turn.
There's
all right. Girl. As you cast the spell of heroism, you watch Kiva as a slight blue nimbus begins to glow up around you, a faint ethereal aura that shimmers at your fingertips. As you watch from the soil below you, 3 bluish-white orbs drift up from the earth and soil, puffing and expanding and dispersing into thin clouds of silvery white mist that form the faces of, faces in their interior. You cannot make out their features, but one appears to be a man, another a woman, another of indistinguishable features. They weave around you, their voices surprisingly soft and warm as they speak, echoing in the tunnels of the corridor. One whispers, "Hush, my dear, you are brave." The other murmurs, "Don't give him an inch. Keep sharp." And with that, you watch as each of them surrounds you, whirling into a faint nimbus and vanishing into the aura that surrounds your torso and your shoulders. You can hear their comforting words, invigorating and encouraging you. All right, and with that is the end of Amity's turn. Kiva up once again. You can see an illusory portcullis in front of you that doesn't look too secure, and you can see the tunnel getting more clogged and clustered by the second, as the ghouls try to shove, frantically slobbering, trying to push over each other's shoulders, as the one in the front obstructs the path forward, desperately trying to get its hands on whatever prey it can grasp. What would you like to do?
All right. So the heroism is making her calm down a little bit, but she's still raging, so she is going to take a swing at the first ghoul directly in front of her. Not going to do reckless this time, just going to swing.
All right, go for it.
So that is a 16.
A 16 will certainly hit. How much damage?
Lovely. So that does 8 points of slashing damage.
All right, beautiful. Slicing across it, you carve across its flesh, and it snarls, pulling back. You watch as this thick, yellowish-white bile drips from its chest. It seems fairly unhappy. Is that your turn?
Yes.
All right, with that, the ghoul hissing and snarling is going to pause for a moment and then lurch toward you, swiping at you with its claws as it makes a normal attack. That is a 22 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
Naturally.
Dealing 10 points of slashing damage, half to 5.
Holy shit, okay.
All right. With that, the other ghouls frantically struggle to break through. Let me just make a few checks to see what happens. You watch as the ghoul on the opposite side of the one in the corridor struggles to force the other one out of the way, pushing it toward it. The one on the corridor below struggling to leap over the other one. And finally, as the one of the intersection sags, the ghoul to your right snarls in gleeful rage, pulling it out of the way and vaulting into the center where it can access its own meal. That is the end of the ghoul's turns. Erthrindir, or actually no. Yeah, that was its action. Erthrindir, you're up.
Okay. So, swearing at himself for not realizing that they could fucking hear him sooner, he's going to take Amity's words to heart and pull his longbow into his hands. And knocking an arrow, he aims past the ghoul in front of him to the one that Kiva's been wailing on, closes one eye, and lets it fly.
All right, so this is shooting over the one in the center of the hallway?
Yes.
Or the wounded one?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, make an attack. Ranged, this one has half cover because of the ghoul standing in front of it.
Okay. Huh. My character sheet is not cooperating. I may just have to roll this manually. Okay, that's a 16.
16 certainly hits. Roll damage.
All right. Woo! 10 damage.
10 points of damage. All right. It swipes through the air and then slashes across the ghoul, cutting right through its neck as it falls to the ground, blood falling to the earth and pooling in the soil below it. That ghoul is down.
That's one. All right. And... Yeah, no, that's his turn. Although he does give a worried look at Kiva's state, but remembers his promise, and that's his turn.
Gotcha. All right, thank you very much. And with that, Lillison, you are up. As you hear the satisfying squelch of the arrow through flesh, what are you going to do?
Lillison is going to sigh irritatedly and say, "Well done, but get behind me." And once again, shoving out her hand, sending another acid splash towards the fresh ghoul that she can see now.
Alrighty. It still has half cover, so that's still +2. That's a 17. It ducks aside, the bulk of the acid splash splattering against the rear wall.
All right.
All right, is that your turn?
That's my turn.
All right, Metreon, you are under the table. It is dark, it is claustrophobic, and you can hear the sound of splattering flesh and the sound of thudding bodies from the corridor to the south. What would you like to do?
From where I'm at under the table, can I see this ghoul that's between Kiva and Earthendeer?
Very faintly, yes. Now that you're like underneath the table and peering out, just kind of faintly, your eyes glinting in the darkness of the chamber, you can faintly see that ghoul.
Okay. Would that be half cover or 3/4 cover? What would cover
from
be?
here, it's half cover.
Okay.
Although, yeah. Yes.
So yeah, from under the table, still hiding, he'll pull out his crossbow and just wildly take a shot.
You have disadvantage because you are prone, but if you want to take a shot,
yeah, that's fine. That's a 16.
That will hit.
And that's 4 points of piercing damage, and I get my sneak attack, right?
You do. Although actually, does sneak attack rely on not having disadvantage on the roll?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, you're right.
All right, I'm afraid you do not, but it does deal 4 points of piercing damage as it slides across the ghoul's shoulder, slashing it there. Is that your turn?
And I'm going to use my bonus action to hide again.
All right, make another stealth check as you scurry back underneath the table.
22.
Beautiful. All right, Amity, you watch as Metreon pops out, then scuttles back into his hidey hole. What would you like to do?
All right, well, satisfied with his participation at least, she's going to walk in front of the table and do much the same thing, taking a pot shot with the crossbow, trying to weave in between her allies. That is going to be a 9 to hit, naively.
All right. The 9 does not connect, I'm afraid. It goes wide over the ghoul's head.
Rats. Well, she's going to step back to the other side of the table and keep a lookout.
All right. With that, Kiva, your turn. As you begin your turn, the ghoul having now slashed the portcullis that is dissolved into an ethereal, illusory mist. You look down at your chest where the ghoul had slashed at you, and you can see a thick, yellowish white fluid dripping from the wounds. They feel a bit cold. You don't feel any sort of strangeness, but as you look toward the ghoul's claws, they do seem to be dripping with that strange sort of viscous fluid. And you have a sort of tingling sensation where the wounds connect the air.
Oh man, if she was not raging, she would think that was very horrifying, but she truly isn't thinking about anything else other than killing this motherfucker in front of her. So she is going to, now that she's freshly attacked again, she's going to reckless and swing at the person or the ghoul in front of her.
All right, go for it.
So that is an 18.
An 18 will certainly hit.
All right, so that is 6 points of slashing damage.
Very good. You carve slashing across it, dealing a moderate wound to the beast.
I love that. And then she is going to just, sort of menace a little bit, glaring and screaming, and her black blood is streaming down her face. So it's a nasty sight.
All right. With that, the ghoul switches its eyes back and forth between the two of you as the ghouls will take their turn. Now, having cooled down for a moment and watching Earthrendir, it's going to pause for a moment. And then its eyes slide off of you, Kiva, and latch onto Earthrendir to your left. Snarling, spittle frying from its lips, it leaps through the air toward you, claws outstretched as it attempts to slash at Earthrendir's side. That's going to be a 10 to hit.
Nope.
All right, you nimbly duck aside, the ghoul snarling in frustration as the one behind it growls and tries to pull the other one out of the way. And successfully does so. Leaping, vaulting with the other, it slams it to the ground, pulling it back, and then sliding forward into its place, slashing through the air directly toward Kiva. But that is the end of its turn. Earthrendir, you are up.
Okay, he's had enough of that. And he's also had enough of being right here. He is going to disengage and dart by Lillison, murmuring, "I hope you know what you're doing," before stepping back with the others. And he's going to step aside to give the others a path, and that'll be his turn. Or, actually, no, he's going to move one more, so someone can get in that position if they want to. That's him.
All right. Lillison, you're up.
Okay. Lillison will nod briefly at him as she steps in to fill his place. And a brief grin flits across her face as she pushes out both hands this time, and it just so happens that Acid Splash can target 2 creatures, so the 2 that I can see from here.
All right, they'll each make a dexterity saving throw. One of them does have half cover on this, but the one in front of you does not. The first one succeeds, the second one fails.
Okay, 4 acid damage.
All right, you watch as one of them ducks the wave of red bubbling liquid as the other one fails to move in time. A splash across its chest that begins bubbling and sizzling at the chest below. It stumbles, its eyes going white for a second as it shrieks in the dark corridors. It appears quite wounded.
All right, that's my turn.
All right, Metreon, you are back under the table as you see Erthrindir retreat and Lillison advance. What would you like to do?
Do I still have eyes on the ghoul that Lillison's engaged with?
You do. I'd say at this point, it's probably still got half cover, I would say.
Okay. Seeing that it worked the first time, he's going to go ahead and crawl out, aiming his hand crossbow, and he's going to go ahead and fire.
All right, go for it.
And this is at disadvantage, right? Or
correct.
Or is it with it's prone? That's right.
Prone, it's with disadvantage. Yes.
That's a 14.
That happens to be exactly what you needed.
Hey! So that's going to be 6 points of piercing damage. I'm aiming for like its leg or its calf or something like that.
All right, it slices right across it, and it snarls in rage and pain, doubling over for a second before turning its gaze toward you, and then eyes locking on Lillison, obstructing its path. Is that your turn?
Bonus action hide.
All right, roll stealth.
19.
19. All right, you dive back under and scurry beneath the table. Amity, you're up.
All right, stepping forward, Amity sees a very bloodied creature. Getting out the crossbow again. Ethan, do you know what these things are?
I do. I just need time to think. I might be able to help you.
All right, that's a 16 to hit. Naively, possibly there's some cover involved.
16 to hit. That will hit.
Wonderful. That'll be 7 piercing damage on the one right in front of Lillison.
Excellent. Also, actually, yes. Something. Yeah, go for it.
It was 7 piercing damage on Lillison. On the one in front of Lillison. Lillison herself.
7 piercing damage. And also, it's entirely my fault. So, Metreon, my bad. I forgot that if you are hidden, you do have advantage on the roll. So technically, you had a neutral roll, no disadvantage or advantage. So if you wouldn't mind rolling that sneak attack damage.
Yeah.
So
do I get to roll both sneak attack damages? Because I hit on both?
I forget which one you targeted the first time, so I apologize. That's my bad. But if you don't mind just rolling it for this one.
Okay. Three.
All right, 3 damage. Fortunately, it had 2 hit points.
Hey!
Woo!
So as the crossbow bolt slices through its leg, it's veered off balance just for a moment, losing its path, and Amity's crossbow bolt catches it right in the neck, and it topples backward, eyes open, before collapsing on the ground. All right, Amity, is that your turn?
Are there any more?
Unfortunately.
At least one more.
All right. Emmy's gonna back up into the corner, or I guess the corner next to Ether and Deer, and whisper, "I can use another trick like the portcullis you did last time."
They
Maybe a
know.
different one.
They know they can. They're not gonna fall for it.
I won't use the same picture.
Oh.
And that's my turn.
All right, very good. Kiva, you see two left. As they draw themselves back up, they lock their gaze on you and look ready to rush forward down the corridor. What would you like to do?
Oh, my love, she is going to go in and she's going to, again, reckless at this motherfucker right in front of her. Pardon my language.
All right, go for it.
That is a 20.
A 20 will hit.
All right, so that is 7 points of slashing damage for the one directly in front of her.
All right, your scimitar carves through the air, slashing across its body, almost cutting through to the esophagus of the neck. You see blood pouring from it, the ghoul staggering, and then some unholy animating force stops it from collapsing. Its eyes flicker, its nostrils flare, and it barely stays standing. You can tell it's almost ready to fall.
She is
that your
just
turn?
going, yeah, she's just going to stand there.
All right, very good. With that, it is the ghoul's turn. It is going to attack you with its claws, with advantage, I believe.
Yes.
That is a 22 to hit.
That hits.
All right, that will deal 9 points of slashing damage, halved and rounded down to 4.
Oh, I love that.
I love heroism
Beautiful.
right now.
All right, with that, the other ghoul will attempt to pull the other one out of the way. Let's see if it succeeds. It very much does not. The one that is barely hanging on for dear life is also hanging on to its last meal. Earthrendir, you're up.
Okay, he turns to Amity. Look, I can't change the image after it's made. I can just, like, make it move up and down if you really want, but I can't change what it looks like. Sorry. And then he is going to close his eyes and kind of cast his mind back, see if he can figure out what these things are.
All right, you're attempting to make a knowledge check about them?
Yep.
All right, make an Arcana check for me.
13.
You find a nugget of memory, a flicker of information that you maybe half remember. These are ghouls, ravenous undead creatures that enjoy devouring the flesh of humanoids cannibalistically. You don't recall much more than that, however.
I just know that they're, undead, obviously. They're called ghouls. If y'all know anything about those, then be my guest, but that's all I've got. Is making that knowledge check an action?
It is not.
Okay, splendid. In that case, he's going to brush past Amity, see if he can see any ghouls. He cannot. Kind of talk to Lelson. Hey, where'd they go?
Further down the corridor. Kiva pushed ahead.
Alright, be careful about the choke points. That's what's keeping us alive right now. And he's going to hang back for now. With his action... Yeah, I think that's... He's going to... Nah, that's his turn.
All right, very good. Lillison, as you watched Kiva leap forward, a crazed, enraged look in her eyes, the black ichor bleeding forth from the scars, driving the ghouls back as she slashes like a mad woman. What would you like to do?
Is it possible for me to squeeze around the corner through Kiva's square to the left of her without provoking?
No, it is not. The beams and walls are in the way.
Okay. In that case, acid splash around the corner at the one that I can see.
All right. That would be a 14 plus 2. Unfortunately, that's a 16, which I believe succeeds.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. With that, Metreon, you are up. The room is quiet, and you can hear the sound of combat slowly growing more distant.
With only, I guess, Kiva and Lillison in my view, I will hold my attack action in case one of the ghouls or any other kind of creature comes into this area, into my vision my. Do I have to roll to hide again, or can I just stay hidden?
You can just stay hidden if you're not doing anything.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just gonna hold my action.
All right, Amity, you're up.
All right. Shouting at Kiva, brave as it may be for you to go on ahead, if you just come back into this room, then we can pelt them all if they come after you. Are they coming after you?
Kiva is in the midst of her rage right now. She's not going to be able to respond to you in the way that you would like her to.
Got it. Well, Amity is going to step back and likewise ready in action to crossbow anyone who gets close. Hoping that people don't, I guess, go off. It's going to be hard for her to participate if the combat gets too far away.
All right. With that, Kiva, you're up again. It's just you and Lillison, and you pushing forward, your rage pumping blood through your ears, the two ghouls before you. And as the rage empowers you, you almost feel like the one before you is cowering, like it's ripe to fall beneath your blade.
Yeah, Kiva's going to Reckless again, and she is going to swing at the one in front of her.
Go for it.
That is a 23.
A 23 will certainly hit.
And that is 9 points of slashing damage. It's a bit of overkill, but she's quite happy with it.
All right. Excellent. As you cut through it, slicing down, you aim for the former cut that you made across its throat and sever the final strands of sinew and flesh that had kept it there. You hear the crunch of bone as the head goes flying through the air, smacking against the left side wall, the body collapsing to the ground. Is that your turn?
She's going to move in and just square off with that last one.
All right. As you watch it snarls, like this bile, black and yellow, bubbling up from its throat as it drools, its eyes wide and crazed. You can tell that there's not a shred of sanity left in this creature's brain. As it lashes out toward you, its claws wildly flashing through the air. With advantage.
Oh, yes.
That is a 19 to hit.
That hits.
Dealing 8 slashing damage, half to 4.
Love it. Thank you so much.
All right, and with that, Airthundir, you're up.
Okay. He looks around, feeling a bit useless, and then kind of realizes that the way things are he peeks out, realizes the way things are situated, he can just get through. So he's going to do that. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25... step back a bit, and pull his longbow to bear again and fire at the ghoul that Kiva's sparring with.
All right, it will have half cover, but if you'd like to take aim and shoot.
That is a 10. I am going to use my Bardic Inspiration on this.
All right, roll it.
That is a 16.
All right, 16. You let loose for a moment, and it almost seems as though it's going to veer through the air. But then you hear a chiming note, a syllable of air, and the arrow veers slightly off course and plants itself directly in the ghoul's left eye. Roll damage.
6.
It howls, stumbling, in rage as black blood and ichor runs down its face, fixing its gaze on you through Kiva. As it scrabbles up and tears the arrow out of its now ruined, dripping eye. Is that your turn?
That's his turn. That's his turn.
All right, Lillison, you're up. You see the arrow fly through the air, Kiva pushing the ghoul back. It howl and scream in pain. What are you doing?
Lillison lets out an exasperated sigh, but decides not to pursue it right now as she steps into place and aims an arc of acid over Kiva's head toward the ghoul.
All right. That is unfortunately a 20, I'm afraid.
Okay. Lillison just
Dodges
rolls her
aside.
eyes, and then she is going to keep on going down the corridor.
All right, as you do, the chanting that you've heard grow louder now grows fainter as you move further away from the intersection. And Metreon, you're up.
Amity, are you under the table with me now, or?
I'm not under the table. I'm just
Okay.
standing next to it.
Amity, where's everybody going?
I don't know. Let's follow them, but not get too close.
No.
They're the one with the light.
Ah, damn it. Yeah. So Metreon, hearing that and realizing that, he is going to very hesitantly come out from under the table. Not seeing anybody, except for, well, I guess he would see Erthendir and Kiva.
In fact, as you turn the corner, you hear a snarl, and Kiva is pushed back almost toward the intersection as the ghoul lashes toward her. She deflects it with a scimitar, and the interplay between them, Erthendir having his bow at the ready. You can very clearly see what's going on.
Okay, yeah, with that, as Kiva kind of slams into me, I want to fire a crossbow bolt at the ghoul.
I don't believe you can see it from your vantage point. If you'd like, you can move to a place where you can. There you go.
And this is half cover again, or?
Correct. Plus 2 to its AC.
Uh, 15.
That will hit. Give me some damage.
6 plus... so 8 total.
All right. Kiva throwing it just off balance enough for you to give a shot right to the other side of its chest, dealing the full 8 damage. Very good. Is that your turn?
And then I'm going to use my bonus action, seeing this horrible creature, to disengage.
All right. Amity, you're up. You
All
see
right.
Metreon duck down the corridor and speed back.
Amity peeks around the corridor, but it looks like she only sees Erthendir. Oh. There's something. All right, well, she's going to step in between her comrades, feeling somewhat safe by the wall of brick flesh standing in front of her, and fire a crossbow bolt at the final question mark ghoul, trying to aim it like between Kiva's legs. It's a mere 10 to hit.
Right, a 10 to hit. Unfortunately, does not connect.
Alas. We've got this, right?
I think so. I don't see any more, but be careful.
All right.
And thank you. You helped me out. Just later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kiva, you're up.
All right, Kiva is going to once again just fucking rail into the sky recklessly.
Go for it.
That is a 20.
That will certainly hit.
Oh, I love that. So that's 5 points of damage.
Beautiful. Another 5 points carving across its flesh. Is that your turn?
My turn.
All right. With that, the ghoul will take its turn, attacking with advantage. That is a 17 to hit.
Oh, that misses. Thank God.
Oh shit! Nice. All right. It slides across, and you bring up the shield that you took from the mantelpiece just in time. Its claws raking and deflecting as they scrape across the polished metal. That is the end of its turn. Erthendir, you're up. You can see that the ghoul appears to be struggling for breath. Its movements sagging and slowing.
He knocks another arrow and lets it fly.
All right. Roll for it.
I'm trying. Oh, that's silly. All right. $11.
An 11 unfortunately flies wide as the ghoul stumbles, ducking below the arrow as it streaks through the air.
All right. He kind of looks around and, seeing that his companions have got this well in hand, decides to stay back for now.
All right. Very good. With that, Lillison, you are up. You've made your way downward away from the center of the combat to a quieter place where the corridor branches and then disappears around a corner.
Okay, Lillison is going to go forward a little bit more, just peek around the corner and make sure that nothing else is coming their way.
All right, glancing around the corner, you see what appears to be only an empty room. You can see a quiet chamber with a wooden table, though the details are difficult to make out in the darkness and dim light. It seems empty, though.
Okay, satisfied, she's going to come back. And since she can't go any further with her current move, she's just going to nod at Amity and say, "We're doing well.
We've got this."
Metreon, you're up.
Ooh, okay. Metreon is scared shitless by this creature and is going to hold his attack action in case something else comes into his view. Just as a free action, he sees Earthendeer. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
The hell do you mean, the fuck? Right, it's me. It's just me.
No, what the fuck is that I'm shooting at?
Oh, it's a ghoul, a type of the living dead. They either get brought back by like sorcerers or by evil magic, and I'll give you a lesson later.
Yeah,
but
Metreon is like rolling his eyes and pressing himself into the corner as much as he can. And that's
all right. Is Mitch just taking the dodge action then?
Yes.
All right, Amity, you're up.
All right. Amity, believing that people are basically on the right track, is just again going to try to shoot a crossbow over Kiva's shoulder. Practicing needing to stand on tiptoes to do so. That is a 16 to hit.
That will certainly hit. Roll damage.
That's 5 piercing damage, please.
How would you like to do this?
Team Tiefling.
I'm having to like stand on my tiptoes just to like shoot this thing over Kiva's shoulder. The arrow just like sinks right into its open maw as it's ready to bite, piercing all through its head as it slumps to the ground.
All right, the ghoul collapses, twitches for a final time, the black-yellow ichor slipping from the cuts and the gashes and wounds across its body, and then slowly falls still, leaving you once more alone in the quiet, in the terrifying silence.
Silence? Like we don't hear the chanting anymore?
Well, the chanting is still present, but...
Oh. I did it. We did it.
Good job there.
You sure as fuck did. Yeah.
Real good job.
shooting.
Oh, fuck. So
Yeah,
you were saying about ghouls, yeah? What?
They're awful. They're just the perversion of nature and life, and I just don't get close. They're smart. They figured out that my stupid illusion wasn't real because I talked about it. So don't assume they're just ravenous creatures, or there's some spark there.
Oh god, this is a fucking death house.
Yeah. No, it certainly does seem like a murder mansion. But
Kiva is you can see the sort of gold scars refilling themselves, but for a moment, she is going to push past Amity, and it almost seems like she's still raging. She's going to grab Earthrendir by the shoulder, and all she's going to say is, "Can you do it again?"
I can, but it's my last spell. All respect to you, but whatever we're facing, I'd like to save it. I'm sorry.
It's not for me.
What do you mean?
Look, I know coming down here that this was going to be some sort of fucked up thing, but look, These things are taking the piss out of me, and we're not even through to where the supposed monster is. So, if anyone can hear me, it's hurts what he does when he heals you, but take it. Someone's gonna need it down here.
Thank you. He blushes a little and then, thanks. I'm still sorry about that. Although we had a theory. We think it's a effect that just happens to magic down here. Makes things weird and wrong. So, Amity, be careful about that.
Right, I didn't notice anything weird about the heroism spell I cast. But did you, Kiva?
DM, those voices that she heard, does she recognize who they were?
She does not. They were unfamiliar to her.
Okay. Someone spoke to me, and they told me to be brave. I don't know who they were.
It's weird that someone spoke to you, but I guess if they told you to be brave, that's good.
Yeah, agreed. Well,
do these things have big toenails?
These
do they?
ghouls? Can she look at the body and see something?
What are you looking for exactly?
Those big toenails.
Looking over them, they do appear quite long, but not quite long and curled enough to make the holes that you've seen in the floor. It seems of a similar shape and size, but whatever left these carved gouge marks seem to have more pronounced features. Similar, but more exaggerated and sharp.
Ugh. Well, do y'all want to take a minute to rest and recover, or would that be suicide down here?
DM, would I be able to recover any of the bolts that I shot?
You are. You can recover half of them.
Okay, so I will, as everyone's talking, well, if we're going to be fighting bigger things like that, might as well stock up. And he will wince as he puts his boot on one of the ghouls and just yanks out a crossbow bolt, and he'll go around collecting the crossbow bolts that he can.
All right. Amity and Erthrendir can do the same if they would like.
Yeah, noticing Metreon doing it, he follows suit. That's a good thinking, thanks.
Lillison will speak up and say, if we need a moment to rest, there's a room down here that seems safe enough and doesn't have any other corridors leading into it. We can barricade the opening rather easily.
I think that might be the move. I'm not feeling great. As he says this, he kind of looks at the others and his eyes flick towards Kiva, and then she's like, yeah, just that specter wound's coming back to me. It's feels like someone's sucking my heart out of my chest. And not even in like the heartbreak way, like in just like someone's literally doing that. It's a bad time.
Yeah, just whoever's furthest away from there. Let's just go.
All right, I'll go ahead and test things out.
Hey, y'all want to help me grab this table? It'll probably be a pretty decent barricade.
Wait, can we not just go back up and rest? You know, the place we were earlier.
Actually, that's a point.
We don't know what's gone on since we've left, though. Like, better yet, we come back down here and all these things are back up. Maybe there's even more of them.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I vote we stay down here. I want to keep moving. Let's barricade ourselves in.
All right, so which way are we going?
Lillison, she found somewhere. And he's going to follow her.
Amity's going to stay within the radius of the light.
Yep.
Lillison
What
coming
is this
in-
room she walked into?
Coming around
Sorry,
the
go
corner,
ahead.
Lillison noticed that there's actually another entrance leading in/out. She looks uncertain for a moment and then just sort of edges closer to it to see what's going on here.
All right, so Lillison, as you enter this room, you can see that it contains a wooden table flanked by 2 high-backed chairs and holding a clay jug and 2 flagons. Above the table, you see suspended an unlit cast iron chandelier. Iron candlesticks stand in 2 corners of the chamber, their candles long since melted away to nothingness. You can see a short corridor where you now stand that appears to lead to a darkened chamber beyond, as well as another closed door in the opposite side of the room.
This might not be as much of a safe dead end as I thought.
Oh, yeah, that's 3 entrances. That's... Alright. Unfortunate.
Well, we could go back to that delightful little picnic area with all of the bones, or we can go back to that place where something might crawl up from the well.
What a variety of options. Don't you love it?
I wonder if we take the table and barricade this door and, well, this doorway, and then, I don't know. I don't even know whether to open the other door.
I mean, probably worth figuring out what's in here, or where this place leads.
Okay. Summoning up a mage hand once again, she's going to very carefully test the door.
All right, this is the door in the lower right corner of the map.
Yes.
All right. You slowly move the mage hand toward the door, kind of testing the handle and looking to open it. You push against it faintly. And as you do, you notice a few things. First, in the light of the illumination from Erthrendir's lamp, you can see that the old wooden door itself is covered from top to bottom, but especially around the handle in ancient red stains. And at the base of the door, between the 2 wooden poles that keep the roof up on either side, you can see the half-eaten body of a small creature lying at the base. Would you like to open the door? Or attempt to?
You say half-eaten? Does it look like gnawed on, or...?
You can't tell from this distance. If you'd like, you can get closer.
No. Lillison is going to be like, actually, let's not stay here.
Why not?
Take a look at the door and let me know if you see what I see, but don't get too close.
All right, okay. He steps away so the others can get in. All right, so you got a door, red, and oh. That's recent. Otherwise, it would have decayed down to bones like everything else.
Before you do anything potentially deadly, can I get the light for a moment so I can go back and get truffle from under the table?
Oh, yes. Goodness, yeah. And he'll hand her the lantern.
All right, Amity is just going to go back, stepping very cautiously, though she believes that these corridors are safe for the moment, to fetch truffle from under the table where Metreon was hiding and bring him back to the group. I see Metreon is accompanying her.
Pokes his little head out. Truffle pokes his little head out, snuffling happily from the darkness beneath the bench, and then leaps gratefully into your arms, snuggling into your chest as you pull him back with you.
I don't think we should stay here anymore.
All right. Your instincts are probably good. I guess we keep moving forward, see if we can find somewhere that we can actually barricade.
Why don't we just go back to like one of the other rooms with just like 2 doors or something? Just less entrances, the better.
That's sensible, actually. All right, yeah. let's grab the table in here so we can barricade both of them. Yeah, you got a good point.
And yeah, Metron's going to go back towards the picnic bench, and he's going to start to like shuffle it around, waiting for someone to help him.
Yeah, Earthendeer will do his best to drag this table in here down the corridor, although it is slow progress.
Kiva
Amity is
seeing him
helping.
struggle will help too as well.
Thank you very much. And yeah, we drag it back.
All right, you pull the small wooden table back in the hallway, working together to drag it with you, and rejoin the others in the bone-scattered hall, where you see Metreon handling the large wooden table and benches.
All right. Y'all think here or farther up?
Well,
Truth be told, I don't know if I can walk anymore, so this seems like a fine place to rest for me.
Metreon?
I mean, there's three ways to get in, and one of those ways we already had to fight these fucking ghouls. So maybe we just head back to the room with the table, the one with the 4 chairs.
That'll work. And Kiva, we can support you if need be. Well, yeah, we'll do our best.
Okay, so back to the first room.
I think so.
All right, she's gonna stand with effort and continue to help with the table.
All right, are you bringing both tables now? Just like,
Yes.
doing a Home Depot kind of trip?
Yes.
We are doing a Home Depot kind of trip.
If
We're
you're
on the
struggling
way.
if you're struggling to walk, don't help carry the table. I've got it, okay?
You watch as like a little spurt of blood spurts out of Kiva's left side, as she like kind of holds the weight of the table with her.
Y'all are some very impressive people. And with that, he just heads back to the old room.
Kiva gives a little wink at Amity, like much more cheerful than it should be.
All right, and with that, the 5 of you bring the tables with you, returning down the corridor toward the stairs, and then passing by the stairwell that leads back up to the house, as you move once more into the quiet, thankfully isolated corridors.
And I'd say too,
small chamber where the moldy straw pallets and the wooden table lie in wait.
I'd say too that Metreon, as soon as he gets in and we drop off the table, he's actually gonna take the table that was already in this room, flip it over, and push it against the entrance, and then start stacking chairs on top of it.
All right. I'd say with all of the items put together, you're able to put together a pretty formidable barricade on both entrances. Although it does take you a good 10-15 minutes to kind of haul the larger table all the way here, as none of you, I believe, are particularly strong.
Nope.
Nah. Wow, you're a dab hand with this. Takes art to get a good barricade together. Most people just start stacking things and then get surprised when they get crushed to death.
Yeah. Yeah, we should probably just chill for now. And Metron's gonna just kind of slump down, not sitting or resting on one of the straw mattresses, but just kind of hanging out outside of the doorway to one of these little rooms.
I think it's time we address something, which is that Metreon and Lillison, as far as I know, both of you have a ghost inside you or something, but you seem to still be you. So, like, what is that actually?
I don't fucking know, love. I'm just more scared than I've ever been in my life. And he starts to break down and cry again.
So am I.
Yeah, but I think, like, he's different.
I don't fucking cry. Something's wrong with me.
Yeah, I wish I could help you. I'd like to get that spirit out of you, but I don't really know how. Dad always said I should be a cleric.
Metreon, nothing is wrong with you. This is not your fault.
Metrion's careful to not look at anybody at this point, and he's just kind of looking. He's keeping like his eyes are darting from the barricades to the different entrances into the rooms, and his tail is very anxiously twitching behind him.
Kiva sort of immediately, as soon as she has a safe corner to lean on, like collapsed and is attempting very poorly to rip her traveler's clothes into like tourniquets to stop the various bleeding around her body.
Oh, we should have taken some of those sheets from upstairs.
Yeah, we could have used those. Though, I think we might have some that'll help. And he kind of gives Amity a meaningful look. Can you, do you sing?
A little bit, yeah.
They say that music, or especially music enjoyed together, will help even the nastiest of wounds. I've never tried it, but, you want to give it a shot? Try our first impromptu duet or some shit? I don't know.
All right, as long as we're quiet enough to not, echo around the whole place.
Yeah. You got anything in mind?
I don't have a particular song in mind. We could just improvise. Or do you have something?
I'm down with improvising. It's gonna be awful, but it'll be fun. We could use some fun.
Are we doing this by actually singing into our respective microphones?
You don't know.
No.
But if you just want to tell me briefly what instrumentation you're using, or if you're only using your voices, and what the words of the song become about.
Well, are either of us carrying an instrument? Because Earthrendeer's not.
I'm not carrying an instrument either. Improvisation-wise, I was playing to sort of start going into a story about some like brave quester.
That works. And Earthrendeer will do his best to hum along and insert where appropriate. Kinda. Yeah. One of those epic ballads or some shit. He'll let Amity take care of the words and just bring as much music as he can. He doesn't sing exactly, it's mostly just humming.
All right, and together with the striking the intonation and Earthrendeer's background melody mixing with Amity's words as she spins a tale, and for a moment you realize there's a reason why she's able to tell her stories in a bigger city. And you can tell for a moment that there's a spark of passion, a flame burning as she shares the tale that she spins, weaving a narrative so rich with detail and beautiful with sound that you can almost picture it. You can almost see the brave hero standing atop the mountaintop, peering down at the valley below, making her way down after many years of fighting, longing for a time, a period of rest, to sit beneath an old oak tree once more and have returned to a life of peace. You can feel a warmth returning to your aching bones, the wounds that you have gained growing cooler, the burning pain that has stabbed through them fading slowly as the song continues, painting a picture of rich glories and victories won, of enemies conquered and beasts slayed. And together with Earthrendeer's rich melody mixing with the tale that Amity shares, I believe you have a song of rest that you might add to your short rest.
Yeah, that'll be 2d6 as long as you're spending at least one hit die.
Is that just from you?
No, that's from both of us.
Does song of rest stack?
It doesn't?
Wait, I thought abilities with the same name didn't stack.
I don't believe that they do.
God damn it.
Party comp.
No, it is a class feature. It is not a spell, which means that it stacks.
Oh.
Or wait,
cool.
Let me check my notes real quick.
Just get the chat.
No, features that have the same name do not stack. It does not stack. I'm sorry. You get 1d6.
Regret.
So sorry.
All right,
but yes, if one of you would like to roll that d6.
I'll do it.
while everyone else rolls their hit dice as your short rest passes otherwise uneventfully.
Okay, an extra 3.
And you only get that if you spend at least 1 hit dice.
All right. So as the time passes and as you roll your hit dice to regain some of your health during your short rest, is there any light activity or conversation that anyone is partaking in?
Metron's pretty silent for most of the rest, but at some point he'll chime in. He'll find a little pebble and throw it at just very gently towards Kiva.
Do you need something?
You said there was Crips, right?
Yes.
Who was on them again?
Rose and Thorn and their parents, Gustav and Elizabeth.
And there weren't no bodies or nothing?
The bodies of the children were upstairs, so I
Right.
can't imagine they'd be in the tombs, but I
Yeah,
think,
figure.
I would hope Gustav and Elizabeth are there.
But Lil said she heard shuffling, and then you said you found footprints, right?
It could be more of those ghouls, or it could be one of them, or maybe one of those cult people. I'm not entirely sure. It certainly wasn't me, though.
I mean, I don't mean to bring the mood down, but what if they're the ones with the bigger claws, bigger toenails?
At this point, that would not surprise me in the slightest.
Kiva, were all of the tombs closed?
As far as I saw, yes. The stones looked pretty heavy, and I'm, fairly strong, but I don't think I could move them easily.
DM, do I remember hearing that grinding stone noise once or twice?
You heard it once. It was a slam, as if something being slammed into place.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything more you'd like to discuss or do during your short rest?
At a certain point, Erthrindir lets Amity take the music, and he's going to sort of step back to one of the alcoves, give everyone a nod, and kind of put his back to it. He sits down, kind of closes his eyes, and begins to sob. He's trying to do it quietly, but he's failing at it miserably. He, realizing he'd given his handkerchief to Metreon, he just muffles in his hands and probably for about the next 10 minutes. That is all he is doing.
And he rode forth. Amity sees that Ithrandir is sobbing, and in an effort to sort of cheer the group up, is just going to be like, hey, we all just got in an actual real fight. Like, I know we were there to protect each other from bandits, but like, this is way more. I think we all deserve at least a snack. And she's going to pass out a dried apricot and some cheese from the pantry.
He looks up and takes it.
And when we get out of here, I'm going to cook everyone something really delicious, all right? When we're out of the walls and going back through those forests.
I could kill for some deer stew right now. Or actually, yeah. Or like something baked. We probably can't do that, but I'd love that, Amity.
Have you all ever had potatoes baked in ashes before?
No? Huh. Wouldn't that, just make the flavor all ashy?
That's what I thought, but apparently you don't eat the skins? I've never done it myself. I just hear about it as something that people traveling and making campfires do.
That would be fun. I'll be honest, I've never actually had a potato. I've heard stories, but they're not very common in my neck of the woods.
What? Wait, I thought you had explode all around and stuff. Like you said, you'd taken a cloud kill to the face, which I assume that's something super dangerous and rare.
Yeah, no, I have lived in two places in my life, way out east, and in smack dab in the middle of the woods. Not exactly root vegetable country. But yeah, no, that bit wasn't from adventuring and having a great time, unfortunately.
They don't have potatoes out east?
Not where I lived. We were kind of more of a seafood and rice sort of place.
I used to grow them in my garden back home.
Oh, you had a garden. That's wonderful.
It was something to pass the time.
Yeah.
Look, not that I don't love this camaraderie and a moment where we're not all at each other's throats, but we do need to decide what we're doing to go forward and get out of this place. And I think waiting around, just sitting here, is not the most helpful solution.
Well, I know it's done one thing. You're bleeding a lot less. And he gives her just the biggest shit-eating grin.
Kiva, tries to smile, but it's also this, weird wince because she's still, a little uncomfortable.
Understandable.
If you want to spend your other hit dice right now, then you could also take a d6 bonus on that one by taking 2 consecutive short rests. Just saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How many short rests do we get between long rests?
2.
They are 2. I'm not sure if there is a limit. I'll defer to you on that. I believe that we'll go with 2 for now, but I'll double check.
Oh, yeah, then I'm definitely going to do that.
I also didn't realize there was a limit.
No,
there's not. I'm an idiot.
Is the d6 roll the same then? If it was a 3 before, it's a 3 again?
No, it would be a new roll. This is just a fact where Song of Rest lets you get an extra d6 every time you take a short rest. Here, I'll give you the d6 this time. 3 more.
All right. Yeah, Kiva feels much better.
All right, so you're taking the full 2 hours then?
Yeah,
Yep.
She's going to take the full.
All right. Your second short rest passes quietly and uneventfully as the first, though the sense of being watched, the prickling sense of not being alone never quite leaves the back of your shoulders. But as far as you can tell, the barricades remain undisturbed and unperturbed by any outside forces or intrusions.
If we wish to take this time to strategize, how many unexplored paths do we have so far?
Well, we have the area to the right of this tunnel, so where we came in, there was another tunnel going off that we didn't look at yet. We can try there if we're all satisfied with what we've seen in this area, or we can go explore the place where the chanting was coming from.
If I were a betting man, and I'm really not, I'd guess that whatever monster is at the heart of this place is probably where the chanting is. That's kind of magicians' MO. They like to see the creature that they're pulling into the world, the ungodly abomination, before it falls upon their enemies. It's kind of a thing.
Whatever whatever we're looking for, I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that someone put a trap in front of it so that people like us don't find it.
I think this whole house qualifies, if I'm being frank.
No shit.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But that's a good point. We'll need to be careful.
If this was some sort of cult large enough to require all of these little sleeping nooks and cots and things like that, then it must have been a trap that was either circumventable or not deadly enough to kill their own people.
Yeah. Means we can get around it if we're thorough.
Kiva, was it a big jump? Like, was it a wide area?
The pit that I fell into, it was not that wide. I mean, long enough that I think we could jump it, but DM, and you can tell me to fuck off if this is meta knowledge. Would she have connected that loop around by the ghouls was connected to the hallway that she was in previously?
She would have, given that she'd seen where things were arranged. Logically speaking, it would make enough sense that at least that the bloodstained door appears to lead in the same direction as the hallway that the ghouls were in. It seems that they might connect, they might not. You're not sure. You didn't get close enough to see.
If I remember correctly, and I could be wrong about this, if we go back down the hallway with the ghouls, there's a loop that sort of circumvents the trap, like Lillison was saying. I think. I could be wrong. I'm happy to go check and make sure.
If we can do that and make our way to where the chanting's coming from, that'd work a treat.
Well, better we die on our feet than on our asses, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm happy to lead again if that's all right with everyone.
Works for me. Be careful. And, check the floor in front of you.
Oh yeah, this time I'll make sure to do that. Kiva's then going to spend some time sort of unblocking the barricade that was right in front of this staircase, and then we'll make her way out of that hallway once it's clear.
All right, it takes a bit of time, and as you do so, and through all the time that you've spent down here, you've still heard the chanting, unintelligible, echoing through the halls from everywhere and nowhere throughout these dark earthen corridors. It's hard to feel as though it's not getting to you, worming its way into your brain until you hear it so incessantly that it's difficult to tell where your mind's comprehension of it ends and the actual air begins. But closing your eyes and doing your best to focus on the task at hand, you eventually manage to disassemble the barricade, casting the table and chairs aside and rendering the corridor ahead clear once more.
All right, so she's going to, knowing that this corridor itself is safe, she's gonna sort of hustle down back to where the intersection was with the ghouls, if that's okay with everyone.
Lillison will go, I was gonna say right behind her, but 10 feet behind her.
All right, and Amity and Metreon?
Metreon will get up and get beside Amity and follow her.
All right. With that, Kiva making her way through the halls, the darkened corridors, re-emerging into the bone-littered dining area. You slowly make your way through, the bones crunching beneath your boots, and soon enough make your way back once more into the intersection where the ghouls lurked. You can see now the deep cavities and pits in the ground, not risky enough to fall into, but places where the ghouls had buried themselves beneath the soil and where they had sprung forth. You carefully avoid them as you turn in the opposite direction, the stairs leading downward once more.
Is the chanting getting louder as she's going down the steps again like it was before?
The chanting, as you hear out for it, yes, it is in fact growing louder, more clearly noticeable, though you cannot still quite make out the words.
All right, she's going to turn back to the others and sort of nod as if to say, this is it. And she will turn and begin the descent.
All right. You begin making your way down, the others following you as you leave this level behind, and as you descend further down the stairs into the dark lies and lurks below, you hear the chanting slowly growing louder as the shadows reach up to enshroud you, welcoming you as you descend. You descend further down, following the steps as they move, descending toward a stone landing and around a bend. You can see that the stairs continue forward, out of sight.
All right, yeah, Kiva will keep going at least as far as she can feel where steps are.
All right, as you move toward the landing and then around the steps to the space below, if you'd like to move yourself there. The stone dusty steps here descend past the landing and around the bend until they end at a cold, large rectangular chamber. From here, you cannot make out the details, but as you make your way down the steps, looking at more of what it has to offer, opens up before you. Would you like to step inside?
Does she, looking down at the floor, she sort of like takes a step. Does it seem like there's another like trapdoor or something like right below the step or something that she can see?
Make a perception check for me. With normally, because Erthrindir does have the light.
That's a 5.
All right, you peer downward, inspecting it for any indication. There doesn't seem to be any trap there that you can see.
All right, she's going to trust herself and she's going to step down just that first step into the room below.
All right, you step down into the next chamber, and from here you can see a thin, wafting mist clinging to the ground, the wooden crossbeams that support the ceiling above you groaning beneath the weight of the house and underground complex above. You can see that the walls of this room are cut with small, chiseled alcoves, each one appearing to hold a small, strange trinket or relic. A corridor with a sagging ceiling exits the chamber and bends out of sight to the right, close to you. Past it, further down the chamber, still on your right side, you can see a stone slope that descends into black, murky water. The ghostly chant you've heard since entering the basement is strongest here, in this room, and as you realize that, you suddenly understand that you can understand what they're saying. You can finally understand the words. They're saying over and over again, in a ceaseless refrain, "He is the ancient. He is the land."
Oh my god. That chanting is so unsettling.
Do we all hear this now?
You all do as you descend the stairs to the landing where Erthrindir now stands.
Who the fuck is he?
Apparently, he's the ancient and the land.
What the fuck does that even mean?
It doesn't mean anything. It's nonsense.
Alright, Kiva's going to step into the room to allow them all to come in as well.
What's all this stuff around us?
Whatever it is, it has big toenails.
The alcoves, as you inspect them, appear to contain a number of strange and ghastly trinkets. The one that you're standing next to now appears to be a knife carved from a white, stained material, and as you looked at it, it bears very similar features to human bone.
He looks at it and just looks horrified.
Kiva, the one you're next to, appears to be a small wooden coffer, but you cannot see what's inside.
She turns her back on it immediately and doesn't look at it.
Yeah. Whoever posited the cannibal theory earlier, think you're on the money. I hate this place.
Are these like fucking trophies or something?
I don't know, like that or trinkets or like a museum. I'm gonna leave them be, tempting as it is. I don't think I want to know what sort of stuff they have here. I mean, unless any of us is about to crawl out and bite us. I wouldn't be surprised with this place.
Okay. So we've got two exits. Or two paths.
Beside the way that we came from.
Yeah. I'll check out one if Lillison, maybe you want to check out the other?
Yes.
All right. Lillison, you find yourself looking down the dark stone slope, plunging into, soon vanishing beneath, a stirring surface of black, murky water, soft ripples spreading across the current. The ghostly chant seems almost stronger here, and it appears to be emanating from the other side of a rusted, closed portcullis. That itself is a quarter submerged in the dark, murky water. Kiva, as you glance forward, seeing the corridor before you, you can see the ceiling overhead sagging as the wooden crossbeams struggle to hold it up. Would you like to continue down the corridor?
How sagging is the wall ahead of her? Like, does it look like it's safe to walk underneath, or is it gonna sort of raise her alarm bells?
It looks safe enough. It doesn't seem as though it's ready to crumble or collapse. It just seems weighted under many years of age. But it seems, at a first glance, just to seem as secure as one could hope.
Does the chanting seem louder from down the hallway that she's looking at?
It does not.
Well, I don't know that there's anything of note down here. The chanting seems to not be as loud down here, and I think we want to go towards the chanting, yes?
I mean, want is a strong word, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to get the fuck out of here, but I don't really want to go through what there is to get out, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, no, that you're coming through perfectly. Lillison, what'd you find?
I think you should all come take a look at this.
What is it?
There's a gate, but there's a big, some surrounded by water. I can't make out much more in the dark. He raises the lantern. Yeah, that, I have no idea what that is, but it's coming from in here.
Kiva will follow Erthrindir down.
He's going to rattle the portcullis a bit.
It rattles, refuses to budge.
Crap. Anyone see a winch?
Not that I can see, but maybe we can try to force it?
As you peer through, Erthrindir, you can see faintly illuminated by the flickering light of your lantern what appears to be a wooden wheel half embedded in the wall to your left-hand side. You can just faintly see it through the bars of the portcullis before you.
Ah! Why would you put that on the inside and not the outside, unless you... Oh. To keep people out. Duh. Yeah, that is how gates work. Lillison, do you think...
Yes.
You think there's any way that fancy skeleton hand of yours could winch that thing from the other side?
I can try. This does bring up a question, though. If the idea is that whoever operates this comes down here, lowers the portcullis from the inside, and then presumably brings it back up when they leave, and this is down, then the last person who came through is still in there somewhere.
Maybe there's another way out on the other side.
Could be. Like a secret passage or something.
Look,
Wilson will come forward and see if she can see where the wooden thingy is.
You're able to gain sight of it easily enough when you move down, and as you do, the water sloshes around your calves, pulling up and staining and welling into your boots. But you can gain sight of the wheel.
Okay. Gonna cast Mage Hand and send it through the bars and try to tug on the wheel.
All right, the wheel is old and stuck somewhat in place, but after a good few yanks of the Mage Hand, you're able to send it creaking a few inches forward. Encouraged by that sign of progress, you push it again and again and begin doing your best to rotate it around in a direction that seems to make sense. And as you do, you hear the portcullis begin to groan and to creak as slowly the mechanism of levers and pulleys begin to hold it aloft. And with that, slowly twisting and pulling the wheel. And then as it gets perhaps, how many pounds of weight can Mage Hand hold?
10.
10.
With that, as you manage to pull it just enough to, you hear the chains begin to clink of the mechanism and the portcullis rise perhaps a quarter of a foot, and then it halts in place, shuddering as the rest of the chains connects, and the Mage Hand finds itself struggling to pull it any further.
Okay. Lillison is going to grab onto the portcullis, wincing a little bit as presumably it's like slimy from being in the water, and like haul upwards as far as she can.
All right, make a strength check or athletics check for me, please.
That is a 15.
Grunt and heave, doing your best to pull it up, suction around the water, grasping around it like tiny liquid hands. You lose your balance for a second and almost slip, and then catch yourself, but it doesn't seem to budge.
Can Kiva, seeing her struggle, also help to try to get it up?
Yes, Kiva, you may try with advantage if you'd like to do it together.
Yeah, let's try it. So it's strength. That is a 14 for her.
14. Unfortunately, you'd struggle and try to move it, and it budges a quarter inch. You feel as though if you stuck at it for long enough, you could probably move it up, but it's going to be a long and difficult battle to push it.
Can we try to pull that wheel more, or is it sort of stuck?
It's rather stuck. There's rust or something blocking it. How high up is the bottom of the portcullis?
So the portcullis appears to be no more than perhaps, at this point, maybe 10 inches or so off of the ground. Maybe a little bit less.
Anybody care to take a little swim?
Do you think we can get
Doesn't seem
underneath that?
likely that you would fit underneath it, unfortunately.
Lillison says it anyway.
I'll
Kiva's-
pass.
Kiva's going to let go of the portcullis itself and try to again yank the actual like mechanism to turn it, if that makes sense.
So the mechanism can't be reached from this side of it, and as you kind of look into the chamber, you can actually see more of the details that lie beyond. You can see the water continues, half submerging the bulk of the floor and the room beyond, darkened but glinting faintly with the light that emerges from Erthrindir's lantern. In the grays of your dark vision, you can just faintly make out a raised stone dais and a thick cloud of rolling mist that unfurls from the top of the altar and spills downward, before vanishing at the water's edge.
Doesn't that look like the mist that's outside?
A little bit, yes.
Of course it is. Well, I guess that's a good sign. They trapped us in here.
I know that I'm not the strongest person here. Maybe if somebody else tries to raise this,
Otherwise, there might be a secret door somewhere.
Yeah. Let's just take the time. If need be, we can all work on it together, force it up, and then grab one of those tables and wedge it in place.
I'm pretty strong, and if the mechanism's broken or something, we can see if we can get more oil and lube it.
Not a bad idea.
What was the other way?
It's, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't look down there. The ceiling is sort of sagging a little bit, and with my bad luck before, I didn't really want to see how long I had before I was trapped underneath it.
I'll give it a check. Someone mind watching my back?
I will.
Thanks. And he's going to step into the hallway.
All right.
Gingerly making his way forward.
Earthrendir, you proceed forward into the dark, sagging corridor, and as you do, the sound of clinking chains melds with a near imperceptible rustling. You continue forward, rounding the bend, into a long, darkened dungeon. You can see here rusted shackles hanging patiently from the walls, as if just waiting to bite into a prisoner's flesh once more. It continues long down a darkened hallway, several more alcoves, waiting quietly in the darkness. From the other end, you can hear a chain quietly rattling.
These fuckers. They weren't just some this was those bastards. Y'all, it's a dungeon in here. It's their prison. It's where they kept their slaves or sacrifices.
My money's on sacrifices.
Well, you can never rule out.
Are there any bodies down there?
I don't know yet. I'm still checking, but if I scream, be ready. And he's going to gingerly step forward, investigating each cell.
All right, you slowly make your way through, investigating each cell in turn, the lantern light glinting as you peer into the darkened alcoves, the manacles glinting and faintly. As you peer into each one, to the central larger alcoves, where it splits into an intersection into 4 smaller places on either side. On the right-hand side, toward the end of the alcove, you can see what appears to be a human skeleton pressed up against the wall, clad in a tattered black robe. Hanging from the back wall, its skeletal arms manacled, sagging to the ground.
Poor sod. He didn't deserve this. There's a skeleton in a robe in here, which implies clergy, wizardry, bath time. I really don't know, but...
Do you see a door?
No, not yet. Sorry. Distracted. He's going to keep moving on.
All right, were you inspecting the skeleton closely or just glimpsing it and moving on?
I think he would like to take a look at the robe. He's curious.
All right, the robe itself just seems to be a tattered black robe of little notable worth, but you do find what appears to be a gold ring on one of its bony fingers.
He looks at it, weighs his options, and then puts it back. Let the dead have what they belong. And he's going to keep searching.
All right, now are you taking your time to actually search for something hidden, or are you just making your way around?
He's taking his time to search at the moment.
All right. Is Lillison assisting with this?
Lillison is mostly just keeping an eye out for anything that starts like moving or anything that looks like it might be a trap.
That is appreciated.
If both of you could make separate perception checks, then, or Earthrendir, you can make a perception check, please.
Okay.
I would say your choice of perception or investigation.
Good shit.
That's a 9 from my perception.
That's a 19 for investigation.
All right. Lillison, you don't find anything of immediate note. Thankfully, the place seems to be dry and dark and dusty and bereft of any other inhabitants. But Aerthrindir, as you search the wall in the central intersection once more, in the space toward the portcullis side, you find seams in the ancient wall where the stone and packed earth seems to split, almost as though there's a place to pull it outward somehow. And as you investigate it thoroughly, you find a mechanism such that part of the stone actually curls away out of sight, almost a sort of handle, and as you pull it, you hear the dirt sift and the stone grind up against other stone, and you see the outline of a secret door become visible as it pulls a half-inch open.
Why would you put a door? Why would... Oh, easy access to the sacrifice. Lillison,
Yes.
Remind me when we get out of here. Metreon suggested upstairs that the best thing to do to this place would be to burn it to the ground. Remind me to buy some lamp oil.
I don't think this place will burn very well.
Doesn't mean we can't try. And with that, he yells, "Hey, y'all! There's a secret door over here. You can leave the portcullis around."
Well, that's comforting.
Ain't it? Aren't we just with such a lovely batch of company in our little murder dungeon? And yeah, he's going to wait for the others to form up and then open the door.
All right. The others arrive behind you, filling the halls of the dungeon, and once they're all in place, Aerthrindir, you pull open the secret door, a hiss of cool, moist, stagnant air hitting you as it opens once more into the dungeon. It appears to move out forward onto a stony, raised surface. Do you step forward to see the room beyond?
Yeah.
All right, you take a step forward, and as soon as you move forward, peering into the large room beyond, the chanting stops.
What'd you do?
Instead, your step echoes across the dark walls and then muffles in the rippling of the water below, the smooth masonry walls providing excellent acoustics. Featureless stone pillars support the ceiling, and a breach in the west wall leads to a dark cave heaped with refuse. Murky water covers most of the floor, and stairs lead up to dry stone ledges that hug the walls. In the middle of the room, more stairs rise to form an octagonal dais that also rises above the water. A rusty chains with shackles dangle from the ceiling directly above a stone altar mounted on the dais. The altar is carved with hideous depictions of grasping ghouls, and in the flickering light of your lantern is clearly stained with dry blood. Without the chanting, the air is now deathly silent.
Be ready for anything.
Yeah. And Metreon, I didn't do anything. I just stepped in here and it stopped.
Metreon has the largest lump in his throat and is gripping his crossbow to the point where he feels like his hand might start to bleed.
Then whoever was chanting is hiding somewhere. They might be under the water.
Aerthrindir is going to pull he's going to pull an arrow from his quiver and drop it into the water, trying to see how deep it is.
It drops into the water and then slowly sinks out of sight. The murky water is too dark to see the bottom.
Is the distance from this little sidewalk that we're on to the actual platform jumpable, or is it something that we'd have to get into the water and
Depends. What's your
swim?
strength score?
My strength is a 13.
A 13? For you, I believe it would be.
Okay, so she's
If
going.
You got a running start first.
Yeah, Kiva is going to strap the scimitar back in its little sheath, and put the shield on her back, and then she's going to attempt to run and jump and get across there.
All right, you push Amity and Metreon out of the way, moving back into the dungeon, into the darkness beyond where Aerthrindir's light shines, and then lowering your head, You leap forward, dashing through the corridor and leaping from the edge before landing on the penultimate stair of the altar beyond. You stumble for a moment, almost losing your balance in the slippery surface of the stone and wetness below, but stabilize, breathing heavily, and find yourself standing in place.
Okay, she's very cautiously going to look at the others and say, let's everyone spread out and see what we can find.
Yeah. You'll forgive me if I don't try and make a jump like that, though.
Setting Truffle down in the upper left corner, Amity is going to very cautiously try to skip through the water as fast as possible, and then on the opposite stairs, see if the mechanism is turnable from the inside.
All right, you skip across. You slip for a moment in the bottom step and find yourself plunging down into the water. Thankfully, though, it's not overly deep, perhaps 2 feet at its highest point. And as you move through it, moving toward the wooden wheel, you feel something drifting through the water brush against your leg, and then settling.
You okay?
There's something in the water.
Then get out of it.
I am.
Sorry. What did it feel like?
Like a fish brushing against me. I'm not hurt.
Okay, good. Just let's all be careful about that, I guess.
How big a fish?
Is the water murky, or can I get a look through it?
It is entirely dark. Your eyes and vision cannot pierce the surface.
I can't see, but the water's only like 2 feet deep, so it can't be that big.
Yeah. No, that's sensible. Nothing too huge could live in here. How would a fish even get down here? Better not to ask these questions.
It might not even be a fish.
Metreon, do you mind moving out of the way?
Yeah.
If a fish got down here, then this might all be connected to some kind of underground aquifer. We might be able to swim out.
That's a point. Kiva, what do you see up there?
She's going to take a step up onto the altar and see if she can't look at whatever this, like, rectangular thingy on the map is.
All right, you step forward and you see the altar carved with the grasping ghouls and blood stains that have littered its surface. And as soon as you do, the chanting rises once more. Arthur-Ndir, Lilith, and Amity, you watch as suddenly around you, appearing mere feet, and in Amity's case, mere inches away, 13 dark black apparitions appear in the ledges overlooking the room. You can see each one resembles a black-robed figure holding a torch, but the torch's fire is black and seems to draw light into it, swallowing it up. Where you'd expect to see faces are voids. One must die, they chant over and over again. One must die. One must die. And that is where we'll end it for today.
Wow! Why would you end it here?
Why do you do this to us?
Because I'll hate you.
Oh my god, this
no,
is
JK,
fucking
I love you guys.
crazy.
Well, to quote Andrew WK, you better get ready to die.
One of us.
Hey, now we have like a week to strategize.
Hey!
We don't know what's in there, though.
Strategize about what?
About who's gonna die?
Why would we listen to these people?
Why indeed?
Someone's already self-voted to be the victim here.
Yeah, I really shouldn't have, like, put her right there. Oops.
You put it right there.
Yeah, you flaunted it, really. Yeah.
Oh,
Damn.
boy. Oh.
All right. Well, that was a fun place to end. And we will see it hopefully resolved with minimal threat of TPK or character death next week. Otherwise, thank you to everyone for joining us today. We appreciate and love you all very much. And we will see you all back in the mists next Saturday. Until then, beware of the things that lurk in dark places and take care.